my guest, my business partner, one of my best friends. How else would you describe yourself, Brent Stepanek? Brent Spud Stepanek.
Loyal friend.
Very loyal friend.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
You've been wanting to sit down and talk to me, even though we talk basically every day.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about, Brent?
We got a lot of things to talk about, Danny.
Let's talk about where you came from, where you grew up. Because what I know from you is that you grew up. I know a little bit more about your family now, obviously.
Yeah.
But I know that you were a Jefferson guy. I was a Jefferson guy, but I never met you.
No.
We never crossed paths. So tell the people that are listening where you came from.
Well, I grew up in Cedar Rapids, and I was went to Jefferson, graduated in 2001. After high school, I was kind of lost. I got a little coaches recruit me pretty good out of college. I was going to wrestle and play football there, and college. Me sitting in the classroom. It's hard enough sitting in a podcast for a couple hours. In a classroom all day is just not my speed. And I was coaching wrestling. Had to get my grades up. Was going to go to Co and wrestle and play football. I was blessed enough to be able to play both sports there. And I met a recruiter, Army recruiter, Sergeant Marvin. I'll never forget him. And he said, "Hey, you're a wrestler. Why don't you try out for the All Army wrestling team?" I'm like, "Well, how you do that?" He's like, "Well, we'll sign you up for the Army." Well, he duped me, is what he did.
Well, they're recruiters. That's what they're supposed to do.
Oh man, did he dupe me?
They dupe you left and right.
But you know what? It ended up being a blessing. But I went in the Army. I knew nothing about the Army, and I just knew I was a hard charger wrestler, and I wanted to wrestle. And he's like, we go down to MEPS, down in Des Moines. We're over in Des Moines, and they go, "What job do you want to do?" I'm like, "Energize." I'm like, earrings, tongue earring, cartilage. I had my nipples pierced at one time. Oh, just
full rebel.
Pretty boy necklaces. It was NSYNC
Shooting
Backstreet
power
days.
dubs left and
man.
right. The good old days.
Drinking Mountain Dew,
He's
kicking ass.
Still living in the old days. Back in '82.
So I go there, and they're like, "What job do you want to do?" I'm like, "Man, give me the baddest job there is. Give me the job that keeps me in shape for wrestling." And he goes, "Okay, infantry."
Infantry.
There you go. And had no idea what the infantry was. I said, "Well, what is it?" And he goes, "You run around the woods and blow up shit." And I was like, "Sign me up. I'm ready to go." And
or the front lines of a war zone.
yeah, well, I didn't know that. And I was pissed off at my wife, Jasmine. I'm like, "We're done. We broke up." I'm like, "I'm out of here.
I'm done.
I'm out of here." I took off 3 weeks later. Getting off the bus at Fort Benning, Georgia. I'll never forget it. Duffel bag. I get off, and they are just screaming at you, Keoni. They're like, "Get off my fucking bus. Get off the..." Just like, what in the hell did I get? I'm looking for a wrestling room. Like,
Shock
I have
treatment.
no idea what the hell's about to happen. Went through basic training. Excelled big time. I just, something about working out hard and God, I just got
Being
off
challenged,
on it.
yeah.
Loved it. I got off on people breaking. Like, never hardly done push-ups in their life, and it was just a big wrestling practice for me.
How long was basic?
Let's
8
see
weeks?
here. No, it was basic in the AIT for the infantry. And there's where the argument is about the Marines and the Army is what is better. Army all goes through infantry training. Army somewhat does, but then they go into their Pacific jobs afterwards. And so I was 16 weeks from May to August. Now, I mean, it was kind of an all-star cast down there. It was Pat Tillman was down there when I was down there. And we had, I excelled. I loved it. I had a great time. Never experienced anything like that in my life. I ended up coming out. I got the highest PT score, which is your physical test coming out.
Yep.
I think I went in at 205, came out at a lean 164. My height 6'2".
Just strips weight off, huh?
Oh man, so there'd be your average soldier would get through the day. There was a group of us. Well, if you're there, this was before cell phone. Not before cell phones, but that wasn't a big thing. We had to write letters. I just found all my letters I wrote to my wife. Man, my spelling and punctuation, let me tell you,
It's really come a long way, I bet.
Nah, I don't know about that, but
I don't either.
Comical. But so there was a group of us that all got together, and and we'd go through our training throughout the day, and then we'd get back, I don't know, 5, 6 o'clock after chow, and we'd come back to the barracks. We'd work out again. And it was just like a constant workout. I thrived.
Competitive nature.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. And it was like, so we ended up going our final physical fitness test. Well, I scored so high, we had what was called extended scale back then. 300 was a perfect score. I ended up like a 320 right out of basic training. Believe it or not, I was 164 pounds. I ran 11:42 2-mile, and my push-ups and sit-ups were through the chart. And I ended up getting the highest PT score, which something you probably don't know about me is out of there, I had a chance to go, I can't remember if it's RIP or rope, which is Army Ranger. Mm-hmm. Army Ranger. So it was, I would have gone to a Ranger battalion right out of basic. Airborne Air Assault Ranger, right out of basic training. I got the opportunity. I was so in love. I wanted to get home. And it was because me and Jazz reconciled while we were in basic training.
Sure.
I had a chance to be an Army Ranger. And I turned it down to come home. Married the girl. It was worth it.
Well, and you never know what could have happened. If you
blessing, everything's,
path, you know
absolutely.
So,
turned it down, came back, did 42 days of recruiting, basically spent 42 days home. I remember basic training, they're like, so-and-so, 101st, so-and-so, all these prestigious, like 101st, 10th Mount, all these prestigious ones. Stepanek, Alaska. And I'm like, what? Alaska? So I'm like, well, whatever. Now I'd love to go there, but I was like, that's bullshit. I don't want to go to Alaska. I was like, who the hell?
Congratulations,
yeah,
Alaska.
Yeah, 3 of us went up there. Go up there. I go up there. I check in my unit, and everything's going well. I tell you, those guys, I love those guys to death. Some of the best people I met were up there. Mm-hmm. And my buddy Pierce, we connected really well. Sergeant Fon. I still talk to Sergeant Jessica. I talk to these guys still to this day.
Yeah, I know. You're always telling me about it.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And Pierce and I, remember the first day I walked in there, we both looked at each other. We're brand new privates. We're like, what the fuck did we get ourselves into? We looked at each other, and we became tight as hell.
You have to bond in those situations.
Oh, boy, did we bond. Right? Yeah, we did a lot of dumb shit together.
Because you're stressed out. You're new. You don't know what the fuck's going on. And then you got somebody there that you can relate to.
We're both privates right out of the ship coming there.
You're fused because you have to have an ally. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean?
Yeah. So I did that thing, and then I tried out. So I think 400 people put in their application for the 400 people got accepted to the All Army team for tryouts, and it's like a reality show. He'd go there, he'd stay in the barracks, and it's like some of the top you'd have to submit. It was like I had to get all my accomplishments, all that stuff from wrestling, and it was Olympic level wrestling. I mean, Daniel Cormier was there, Bobby Lashley. I mean, these guys trained at the OTC. Bobby Lashley trained at the Army with me, mm-hmm. and Dominic. Some of the best wrestlers that have ever stepped foot on a mat were in there, and I made the team. It was 5 of us. Eric and Nick Frick out of Pennsylvania. Schwabenbauer, I think he was out of... Yeah, it was 3 Pennsylvania guys. Kenyatta Carter, who I wrestled in high school. And he did a little bit of MMA, too, out of Waterloo. He's a great wrestler. Him and his brother, unbelievable wrestlers. And then me. First match, I'm wrestling for the Army. Trained there, did a long time there. First match, I'm in University Nationals in Chicago, Harper College in Chicago. And I go in there and I tore my cartilage in my ribs. It was brutal. You ever had that injury before?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's one of the worst.
I've never had it since. Knock on wood. I've never had it since. I've had a lot of other injuries, but not.
I only had it one time, and it wasn't bad. But every time I moved, it felt like my shit was ripping apart.
So imagine that, right? But wrestling with them done. So in freestyle, you're familiar with freestyle.
Yeah.
I got called for a part there. Stalling, what is passive? I think is what they call it.
Passivity.
Yeah, passivity. So I go down, and he goes to gut wrench me, and I knew it. So I did a crawl stand up. When freestyle, you stay down, you fight it. But I knew if I was gonna gut wrench me, I would have been tech fall. I remember doing a crawl stand up. I went to do because he surprised him, so he tried to run me off the mat, and I went to do a stand up switch, and I shipped like Anderson Silva. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was just my leg was just it was brutal. It was horrible pain. So I got kicked out of so went through surgery. I was out in a boot for a year and 2 days. I had this idea of let's go to let's go to USA Nationals in Las Vegas. I cut 33 pounds. I haven't wrestled for over a year. Cut 33 pounds and flew myself to, you know how much I love to fly. Flew myself to USA Nationals in Las Vegas. Met up some buddies there I trained with. And went 2-2. 2-2. Drew John Trench first match. He gave Cal Sanderson one of his best matches. Drew him first round. What a tough guy from Lehigh University. And ended up going 2-2. Once I got back, I decided to do the Army thing. It was time to do the Army thing. And I started doing a little jiu-jitsu. I did a couple Army jiu-jitsu tournaments. I just get off the plane, and Sergeant Bacher was a friend of mine. He was really into mixed martial arts also. And he's like, hey, you need to try this jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, what was Army combatives? I'm like, well, I hated jiu-jitsu. I did not like it. And because it was the wrestler, the jiu-jitsu. Back then it was a little different.
I know all about it.
Yep. So it's a sense of pride. It probably still is.
It's ego. Wrestlers have
ego.
They do. Yeah. And I understand why they might maybe have to have that. You're going up against head-to-head somebody who's trying to dominate you.
Yeah.
You know? So
absolutely.
I get it, but I also know that a lot of the best wrestlers on the mat are the most humble because they know what's up.
Yeah.
They know where they're at. They know what the sacrifices are.
And I think you change as you get older, obviously, a little bit.
Yep.
And so it was a post-wide tournament. It's like 1,000 soldiers in this. No weight class. He teaches me a guillotine.
That's awesome.
He teaches me a guillotine. But Blaine, I just told Blaine about this story. Blaine had no idea about this. I win the tournament, Keoni. I had no idea. I was just taking people down. I knew I could go mount, side mount. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. Mount, side mount, guillotine. That's all I knew. That's all they taught me. 3 moves in one day. And I racked the points, beat everybody, and I pretty much submitted everybody. Ran into a kid that played Penn State at the or he played football at Penn State. He was really into jiu-jitsu. I met him in the finals. Big guy, real big guy. I wasn't that as big as I am now back then. So I met him in the finals. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. It was like, this guy knew jiu-jitsu. So it was a big deal. I mean, it was a lot of people, big gymnasium at Fort Wainwright, Alaska. And I remember the first time he had a cross-collar choke on me. I didn't know what it was. So me trying to strongman it, I remember picking him up and put him slammed him on the ground, and it just sunk in tighter. Somehow I got out of it. I don't know. But I ended up winning it by points. And that's when I got a first taste of that. And then ship out of Alaska. So there we go to Fort Polk, Louisiana, one extreme to the other. I did a couple more of those tournaments. I come back to Fort Polk. We go to Afghanistan. Afghanistan 06-07. Well, when you're not out doing your missions, you're learning, you're weightlifting, you're doing whatever. Strongest I've ever been in my life was over there. And well, I met this guy. I can't remember his name, but he was a Cajun from Louisiana. Just small dude. Kind of reminded me of Dave, the way he carried himself, just real, just real Southern, just tough. He was a tough guy, you could tell. And he's like, well, you ever tried boxing before? I was like, I never tried boxing. So he'd teach me how to box a little bit. Give me the
gist.
Yeah. And so we leave for Afghanistan. I come back. I out-process the Army. I think I did 7 years altogether.
When you went to Afghanistan, were you involved in combat missions there or no?
Oh yeah, I think we did.
You were, okay.
Oh yeah, we did a bunch of stuff over there. We've got infantry, but it's kind of a weird situation when we were in Afghanistan. We were relieving a sister company of ours, and there was always a running joke. I couldn't handle the not knowing, because we didn't have orders, Keoni, until we got on the plane, and it was like a sheet of paper.
To Afghanistan?
To Afghanistan. We're on a C-130. Like, are they punking us? Are we flying around?
Figuring out what?
Yeah. But we ended up landing in Afghanistan, and then
damn.
Yeah. It was nuts.
What was that plane ride like?
Boy, that's why I have anxiety with planes, man.
I bet. I've heard those things.
Helicopters,
scary
planes,
scary as hell.
Oh yeah, they're
big commercial military.
But when you're young, you don't. How do I say this? You don't value life like you.
No, you feel like you're immortal.
Yeah.
It's everything's an adventure.
You learned over there real quickly to value life.
Yeah,
real quick.
How fleeting it is.
Oh, it was. I'll never forget the first time it was RBG 7 went through it was a National Guard unit out of I don't know if it was South Dakota, whatever. And what you saw, you knew it was real. Like that. That's when I realized that life was valuable. And I tell you what, there's a lot of soldiers been through a lot of stuff in their life, and made my deployment look like cake. But I tell you, it's I saw I don't know if it was a shrink or therapist or whatever, and she's like, "Do you understand? Even like get mortared." And she's like, "Brent, that's not normal. That's not normal stuff."
No, it's not.
And it's really hard to like see soldiers I talk to nowadays. Vets, we stick together, right? Mm-hmm. And just some of my buddies and that I served with, and it's not normal. It's not normal to go through what they went through, what we went through.
Well, human beings aren't. I think like even when you think about tribalism, like tribal warfare, where people might get in stick fights and occasionally beat each other to death or spear each other, but mortars, bombs, tanks, people aren't designed to deal with that kind of shit on a daily basis. And I think there's some people that thrive in it. Yeah. But I don't think there's anybody that escapes it. I think that a lot of the soldiers, and this is just my opinion, there's a high suicide rate amongst soldiers.
Absolutely.
Because of the baggage that they carry back with them, the emotional baggage of what's going on. And it's like, you said you graduated in 2001?
Yeah.
So 2001 is a pretty important year in American history. Did September 11th and emotional response from September 11th lead you towards the military? Was that any deciding factor? Or were you just like, I want to wrestle? I don't give a shit about that. Because a lot of people did. A lot of people joined at that time because they were swept up in anger about what happened, and it was like a motivator for them to go and enlist.
So there was always a question in basic: why'd you join this beloved army? And I didn't want to tell them. Well, technically, I was pissed off at my wife or my girlfriend at the time, and I said, "Screw you, I'm out of here!" Right? Because we were going through odds and ends, and
I'm joining the army.
I was being an idiot. I was partying. I just.
Well, how old were you?
19.
Okay.
Yeah. 20 years ago, Keoni. 20 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
That's crazy. Just being an idiot. Just an idiot kid, 19 years old. And I was just doing the wrong things left and right. And
finding your way, though. That's it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, finding your way.
I was at a leader mentality. It just, I didn't, I felt like in high school, if my son hears this, do not take your dad's advice. But
do as I do, not as I.
Yeah.
Or wait,
you learn your lessons, right?
Not as I do, yeah.
I went all the way through high school without smoking weed, drinking, nothing. I was dedicated. When I tell you I was dedicated to sports, I was dedicated. It's my out. That's what I had in life.
Right.
I wasn't uber book smart. I wasn't very street smart. I could hustle. Like crazy. Just wasn't book smart, but I was a good athlete. I wasn't great. I was good enough to play D3. I just didn't have the confidence like somebody like my son and my daughter, and they've had the opportunities to what we
develop over.
Yeah, and I just didn't have that. If I had what they had, it might have been a different story. But I was D3 athlete. I was good. I would have been a good D3 athlete.
So it was athletics that drew you.
Yeah, it was athletics, and I heard I could wrestle. September. I wouldn't say that September 11th didn't play a role. You'll remember, my grandfather was in the Korean
Soldier.
War. Oh,
Yeah.
he was, and he was proud of it. And
Yeah.
didn't talk much about it, but he was proud of it.
And he was your role model.
Oh, he's my hero.
Right.
Yeah.
So, talk about growing up with Daryl around.
Dad.
Yeah. Talk about like just like who's little tiny Spud? Who's 5 or 6 year old Spud, and what's he up to?
Well, 5, 6 year old Spud is a good question. I don't know. I don't remember those days, but
What's the earliest you remember?
I was 7, I think.
Yeah.
I bits and parts. I lived with my dad for a while, and then him and my stepmom got divorced. Adam and Angie's mom, and they got divorced, and we moved in with my grandma and grandpa, and I don't know how to explain that era parent. It's wild. They're wild.
They're a different breed.
They are. I don't want to call them a bad parents. They just didn't. That wasn't their priority. Their priority was the 80s, man. Partying, having fun.
Grandma and grandpa?
No, I'm talking about dad.
Oh yeah.
So
okay.
like just wild, having fun.
Sure.
So we moved back in. I believe he couldn't find work here in Cedar Rapids, and we moved back from Arizona, but I was born here. Lived in Arizona for a little bit, and then he said he was going to go back down. He goes, I think I was 7 years old when I said this. I still remember it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. When my dad goes, he goes, hey, I'm moving back down to Arizona. Do you want to come in with me? Do you want to stay with Grandma and Grandpa? I said, stay with Grandma and Grandpa. I couldn't imagine how my dad felt. I imagine my kids trying to tell me that. That's a hard pill to swallow. And it was the best thing.
But it might be the right pill.
It was the right thing. Yeah. And that would have been a lot of stress on a single dad and trying to find his way too.
And it might have been worse for you. Might have been for your development. Yeah. You know, I mean, who knows? Like, I think people overthink that.
It gave me structure. Yeah. Gave me structure. My grandma and grandpa took me in. I was close with him already, so I felt comfortable. Grandpa, dude, what a hardworking guy. You can talk about work ethic, and that's where I get it a lot from. My whole family is a hard worker. My dad, my aunt, my grandpa, like all of them. The whole damn family is great hard workers. They live for work, and
but he sets the standard for them, right?
I mean, he set the standard. 42 years of the same job. 5 days a week he missed, or 5 days in 42 years he missed. Like he didn't miss work.
Yeah, that's old, and that is an old breed. Like,
oh yeah,
you know, Depression era moving forward. Yeah, they just people aren't built like that.
Two of the hardest guys I know, the hardest workers I know, are my dad or my grandfather and your dad.
Yeah,
I mean, really, they were almost very similar. Yeah, they reminded me a lot of each other.
Well, I think a lot of people from that generation, they're just they're more resourceful, and it's kind of sad to see that generation passing away because I feel like people, especially young people, are so disconnected and have such issues communicating. Yeah. There's so many lessons, so many huge, important life lessons that people like your grandpa and my dad are aware of that they're not getting, that the younger generation just simply isn't getting. Like, we are losing them to time, and it doesn't seem to be going in a really great direction. Yeah. You know, we live in a society where people everybody gets a medal and everybody gets a ribbon, and that's not the culture that those guys came from. Like, you lost.
I'll probably offend somebody when I say this, but those were real men.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've gone away from that.
Well, masculinity is demonized a lot now. Yeah, like people think masculinity. Yeah. There's actually people out there that purport that masculinity is a bad thing, and it's no, it's not. It's half of what we are as a species. Yeah. But it's like these things like toxic masculinity. Well, I think we could use a hell of a lot more, to be completely honest. I think it takes some bitch ass men to come up with an accusation like saying you have toxic masculinity. Yeah. You know, that could be
Fair
toxic
enough.
in itself. Yeah. But so your grandpa passed away fairly recently still.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago.
Pretty fresh still in the mind. How did that change you? Because he was a huge piece of your life. He was a huge influence in your life. He was involved in your kids' sports up till like the last days. Yeah. How has your life changed, or how has that event changed how you see life?
I think it still is, man. Honestly. God, we lost both of our parents about the same time.
Pretty close. Yeah,
within a year. So I seen you go through it. And actually, I don't know if I ever told you this, but you were a huge part of my success getting through it, because I kept telling myself, dude, you called it day one. You told me exactly how I was going to feel, what emotions I was going to go through. I was in a bad way, man. Like, that's my hero. Just like your dad. That's
it's earth shattering.
Oh man, I don't even know how to describe it. I still struggle with it. I really do.
Yeah.
And I watched you go through it. I picked your brain a lot. It's something that you dread. It's something you know it's coming.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 88, Keoni. I mean, but this guy mowed his own yard. I mean, this is Daryl Stepanek through and through.
Sure.
He mowed his own yard. Bo called him Superman because he did. I mean, you think about the shit he went through. We went to do a garage sale. Somehow he gets meningitis. Sit on the couch, just like, my grandpa, he can't sit still. We're very similar. And he gets meningitis. He refuses to go to the hospital. He finally does. He's down his, like, literally going to die. We get him there. He's in ICU. He gets out. He is mowing his yard. This is all within like the last 2-3 years of his life. Mowing his yard. He trips over a shrub and gets pissed off, finishes mowing his yard, can't breathe. So they take him to the hospital. He broke like 3 ribs. It's just the shit this guy has been through, and it's his whole life.
Yeah.
He told me a story one time about the military, and it was like he was a staff sergeant in artillery, and they were done. They were getting ready to fly out or ship out, and they didn't know planes. It was shit. They were ships, and he jumped in. He couldn't swim. Believe it or not, back then he was a country boy, could not swim, which is crazy to think about. And he hit some type of hole, and it drug him in the water. It was a river. One of his soldiers jumped in, saved his life. When he was like 7 years old, he was riding his bike through the fields. Didn't realize there was a barbed wire. Cut his neck all the way through. His dad, he remember him telling me a story. His dad bought a brand new Chevrolet that day and picked him a brand new Ford Chevy. I don't know what the hell it was. And put him in the car. Blood everywhere.
All over the place.
Damn near died from that. And so this guy was like Superman. So when he came down and it was the weirdest shit that got him. It was he had 3 knee replacements. He outlived the other ones, and so he's going for his 4th one. He's 88, almost 89, married to the same woman for almost 70 years,
which is wild.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and he got an infection in his knee, so we got him in the hospital. Everything was going. They gave him I think you call it sepsis shock.
Sepsis, yeah.
Yeah, so they gave him a PICC line or whatever, and they're like, okay, well, you're gonna have to go to. He was pissed because he never wanted to be in a nursing home, but you're gonna have to go to a rehab center. But he's like, don't call it a damn nursing home. He didn't want, my grandpa, he's a hard ass, and so he goes in there, and I go see him. Time to, like almost every day. He was supposed to be in there for 6 weeks, and I said, Grandpa, he'd bitch. And he's like, this is what's going to get me. Grandpa's not going to get you. Suck it up. Let's go. Like, I remind him the shit he's done in his life. And so that Friday, I bring him kolaches every Friday or Saturday, right? Mm-hmm. He loved kolaches, especially this place in Ely. And
well, are they the same ones you bring in
yes.
sometime?
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, he loved. It was like he's full-blooded Czech, so it's like what his mom made, right? Sure. And so I bring him to him, and he was sitting there. God, it was so hard to see him in there. He's sitting at the table with another old fella, and he just looked at me. He's like, "Don't put those in my room." He goes, "I don't want nobody to steal them." Ain't nobody stealing your kolaches, Pops. So I go in there and put him in there, and he comes. He's out of breath, Keoni. And I'm like, "What the hell?" It's like, "You're getting better." He goes, I can't breathe." So I sat him down, put him in his bed, tucked him in. He's like, "I'm taking a nap." I said, "Okay, well, Blaine plays game tonight against Jeff. To let you know how it is." So I went to Jeff. Blaine goes to Prairie, his big rivals. He's like, "I got to know how that game goes." I said, "Okay." So I'm thinking, like, I called Grandma right away. I said, "Something ain't right with Grandpa. Like, it just is not right." Mm-hmm. She says, "All right, well, we'll be there in a little bit. We'll take a look at it." And I call him back Friday night, and it was a 180. "Oh, hey, how'd the game go?" Like, just energized, excited, wanted to hear how Blaine did. Saturday, me, my buddy Walt, who I was in the Army with, and Courtney went to that game at Penn State. Our buddy Anthony gave us 50-yard line tickets, or it was McGrath's tickets, 12 yards. I was excited about that. I said, "Well,
didn't I go to that, or was that the one before?"
Courtney went. Okay. You went to the one before. Courtney went to that one, and we went, and then that's when I started getting text messages, and I had, not a lot of people get an opportunity to say goodbye, but yeah, he took a turn for the worse. End up having issues with that infection, and that's what ended up getting him. But I got to spend some top quality time with him. Thanked him for being an amazing grandfather, and thanked him for, I think my exact words were, if I could be the half the man that you were to me and half the grandfather, I'll be successful. And thank you for being such an amazing person. That was the last thing I said to him. So that was it. It was tough, man. It was tough. I spoke at his funeral. How I did that, I got up at 3:00 in the morning. Something just hit me. I wrote a whole speech. I don't even remember it.
I feel the same way, because when Dad passed away, like we found a way to get through it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just did, because we had to, and you do.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize probably until I got like 18 to 24 months through it, that I wasn't really through it. And that the 12 months following and the 18 months following was just this hazy fog of shock. Yeah. Where this huge influential person that's been there your whole life is just gone. Yeah. Like that. And we've talked about this before. We talked about it before they passed away, even like when, preparing for this type of thing. And because they were so beloved, you dread it. Yeah. You know it's coming, but you don't know when it's coming. Yeah. And it doesn't matter how it comes. Yeah. You just had a friend whose dad found out that they were really, really sick. Yeah. Had really kind of late stage cancer, and it was just
1 week gone. And he was like the childhood dad growing up.
Right. Yeah. So as you get older, I think you can relate that you see these people, these influential people aging. You see these icons from entertainment and music starting to pass away, and you start to become very, very aware of your mortality. But when, I've had people in my life die. Yeah. I've had one of my uncles committed suicide. Like I've had people from the gyms commit suicide. Yeah. And people close to me. Yeah. And they changed me. Each one of those gave me a little more perspective about life. I know Seth specifically rocked me really hard. I know. And that started changing my behavior. Yeah. But I was still kind of shitty. Yeah. Like I was still kind of a shitty person. I feel like, you're supposed to have integrity, and I would have integrity in almost all situations, but not all situations. Yeah, yeah. When my dad passed away, in retrospect, I feel like there was the life up to when my dad passed away, and then there was immediately, as soon as he was gone, there was a whole nother life. And I had new responsibilities, and I had new things that I had to take care of, like my mom and my family, in ways that I didn't before. But like that, it was like a switch in me where I was like, wow, you're really a man now. You don't have any fucking choice. Oh, yeah. You can't slip up anymore,
You got a little different. I tell you what, when your dad died, that was a really, really... It was hard. I was close with your dad, and I loved your dad. Your dad was a great guy, and he treated my kids really well, treated my grandkids, and he was good. And I know what he meant to you and Eric. But watching you guys go through, oh man, that was tough. Watching you guys go through that. I remember we were building this gym, and when you were building this gym, I'd come in and supervise.
We were a week from opening.
Oh man, we were, away. And it's like watching you try to get the detail. Man, I was so hard. Like I remember telling Jess, I was like, "What am I supposed to do? What?" I'm trying to keep I want to keep him on task, but I'd be a piece of shit if I said something to you. Well, and I just was like, man, it was so hard to watch you do this.
There was a lot of moving parts to getting this place open. Oh, yeah. So I didn't really have time to mourn too much. Yeah. They buried Dad really quickly. That was kind of what his wishes and what my mom's wishes were. But
is that the Baha'i faith?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I still had to get the gym open. I had to get it open. I had to get it open, and then I started thinking about like if I was going to be able to continue to work at Aspect, and I'm like, at this point, I just like all of that stuff happening was just a motivation to push forward. Yeah. But for months, I was in a dazed state where, I think people that grieve can kind of relate to this, but. I talked to you about these waves of grief that will come over you.
Yeah, you suddenly. Did. I remember. Yeah.
And at first they're super intense, and like you don't forget about it, but you like distract yourself for like an hour or two, and then boom, it hits you again. The reality of it, and it's really deceptive. Grieving is because as time passes, you will convince yourself over and over that you've grieved, and that you've accepted it. You've come to terms with it. And then you'll just be sitting there and doing something, of little significance, but something that reminds you of the departed. Yep. And you might have a sudden flash or glimmer in your mind, like, I'm going to call Grandpa and talk to him about the Iowa game. And then immediately you go, he's gone.
It's funny you say that because my buddy Craig, who just lost his dad, Craig, yes. He was my boss at Kinsler. And, he's a childhood friend. I mean,
yeah, you've known him for years.
Yeah. And so he just texted me before we started this podcast that his grandfather, who was one of my grandpa's best friends. I was like, oh, shit, I better call my grandpa. Like, this is a year and a half now. This is past. So it still happens. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. I swear to God, bro, everybody came out with damn grandpa songs, country songs, after my grandpa died. And it's like, I'll be driving down the road, hear a stupid... my buddy, what did my buddy
something about a truck?
Journey of My Life by Jake Owen, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man! Like, and somebody's talking about some type of grandpa dying, and I'm like, man, this is that's the first time I think my kids really seen a hard side. I mean, like
yeah.
And it don't make any sense, bro, because you think about this. Your grandpa's almost 89, has had a great life. He was a part of his kids, his grandson he raised, and then my son and my daughter, and then he got to see Boston.
Boston, yeah.
What I think the significant thing, I think what was really cool, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but what was really cool in both of our dads, your grandfather's funeral is the and I spoke about this. I remember talking to my grandpa's funeral. I just stopped. I said, look at the generation. I noticed this at your dad's funeral too. He was 69, my grandpa's 88. But the generations that they had at their funeral, they touched a lot of lives.
They did.
In their lifespan. There was young kids all the way to, 80, 90-year-old guy. And that was just crazy. Both of their funerals. Which
is saying something, because I feel like a lot of people get old, and as they age and their friends start passing away. Yeah. I've been to funerals of older people, and they're just like, really sadly, there weren't that many people there.
They've outlived everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
What a strange place to be in, to realize that. I think that's part of the humbling process of getting older. You see people that mean a lot to you leave, and it just reminds you with the frequency that they leave that your departure date is arriving anytime,
Well, what's crazy, I think it's what's kicked me in the nuts lately is like, okay, now I'm starting to lose my buddies' dads. Dads that I was close with.
And they're not that old.
No. And my buddy, your dad was 69. Kevin and Craig's dad
62.
was 62.
We ain't that far off.
Bro, that's what I'm saying. That's like, damn it, you're 40, I'm 39.
It'll be just like that, and we'll be 60.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And, it's the parents now. Then we're the old people now, right? So I don't know if I'll ever really get old.
The mature ones?
Yeah.
Well,
I think with modern technology, I'll probably stay alive till I'm like 100, 120. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to get them to cryogenically freeze my head and then reattach it later. Whatever I got to do.
You would.
I would. Why not? Let's throw it out there and see what happens. Yeah. If I wake up in 2049.
We're getting off task. Here we go.
Grieving is, especially when you're older. When you're younger, you're immortal. Which is why it's so tragic when we've seen people lose their lives, and just for stupid reasons when they're young, drunk driving, shootings, all kinds of stuff. Now I don't know if you can relate to this, but the older I get, the luckier I feel that I made it through. I mean, especially you were in combat.
Yeah.
Like you were in people talk about, I'm so lucky that I made it with all the trials and tribulations. Yeah. You were actually in combat with your service. Didn't you go to Iraq as well?
Afghanistan.
So you were in Afghanistan the whole time?
Yep, Afghanistan.
Okay.
It was, bro, I tell you, man, we could spend 3 hours on a podcast about my military career. Just a little snippet. I go to Alaska, right? Kind of circling back to that. I go to Alaska. I travel for the wrestling team, make the wrestling team Colorado Springs. I shatter my ankle, get hurt, go back to Alaska, said, fuck it. I'm going to marry the girl that I've been with since I was 16 years old. Fly home. Marry her. We tell nobody. I mean, her mom was there. I mean, oh my God, I'd kill my daughter if she did some shit like this.
She probably will.
Knowing Mia.
Wow.
And we drive from, right? No, I flew back. She drove, and then we bought a house. Everybody's pissed because I got married without telling anybody. And, but you know. And so we started living a life in Alaska.
You've been together for
22 years, Keoni.
22 years.
Just figure that out. 22 years.
Not a lot of high school sweethearts these days. There just isn't.
No, it's no, there's not. I tell you what, man, marriage is tough.
Yeah.
It is so tough.
We'll get there.
Yeah, it is tough.
So what were you going to, I'm sorry, I interrupted with that Afghanistan
Well,
story.
then, so I go to Alaska, and I'm done wrestling. I did that whole thing. That's great. And then I go back to my job in my unit, and was at 172nd Striker Brigade. And so I'm like, okay, well, my grandma and grandpa are getting old. I want to be closer to home. I was going to make a 20-year career out of this. I was fast-tracking. I made E6. I made E6 in 4 years. I mean, me and Pierce both did. We were side by side, promoted together. I remember when I walked in the staff sergeant board, they asked me 2 questions if I could kick this one guy's ass, which was a captain, and then they maxed me out. They never asked me about my job, nothing. I mean, like, we were squared away. We did what we were supposed to do, and I liked it. I was fast tracking very quickly. Fort Wayne, Alaska, we were supposed to go to Iraq.
So, but I was getting orders to go somewhere else. And I picked Fort Riley, Kansas, because I wanted to be close to home. So I was like, you know what? I was a sergeant, I think sergeant. And I went to my sergeant major, Davila, and I said, hey, look, Pierce and I want to stay here. These are the guys that I've trained to go to war with. Mm-hmm. I want to go to war with them. It's a sense of pride. You're ready to go. And it's like playing in a game and never getting a chance to go play on a Friday night football game. So I go, cancel the orders. Oh, yeah, you'll be good. We're pretty much in a stop loss. You're not going to go anywhere. Sitting there, waiting to hear the word to go, because I don't know how far they were, but they were, I think we left in June or July, and they deployed in November. So this is that close. That's unheard of. Stepanek, Pierce, you guys are going to Fort Polk, Louisiana, brand new brigade, 10th Mountains and Fort Drum, very prestigious unit. But they opened up, they didn't have room up there, so they're going to Fort Polk, Louisiana, 4th Brigade, 10th Mountain down there. We're like, what? I was pissed. So they tried to appeal it, everything like that. They couldn't. So Pierce and I, these guys that we've been training, are off to Iraq. And we are
in a swamp.
We're going to Fort Polk, Louisiana. Those boys, boy, I tell you, it's hard to talk about this, but those boys got fucked up. Right. Like some of the, man, they're such great soldiers. So many Ranger guys, so many just squared away guys. I love those guys to death. I don't know exactly how the story goes, but basically they get a false tip. It was a setup, and they roll in. I think they're in Mosul, Iraq, and they roll in, and it was a shoot house. Basically, a bunch of insurgents were waiting for them. Ambush, and they kicked open the door, and it was hell. Like, they got set up.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys lost their lives. And my platoon, Sergeant Laura, got shot through the jaw, and like he ended up being Soldier of the Year, but he lived through it. But it was bad. Like, dude, getting that news, and you have a certain level of that's what I'm looking for. A certain level of like wishing you were there. You wanted to be a part of that, and you felt really guilty. That's what I was saying. A certain level of guilt, and so I mean, I love those guys. They were, a few of them lost their lives, but they were damn good soldiers. They were really fun. They were great to be around. I was stationed with them for 3.5 years up there. We go to Fort Polk, Louisiana. I get deployed with them, but like I said, it was a weird deployment because usually it's like a year to 18 months, and we were there 06, 07. It was like a weird transition. It was so weird. Like, it could have been way worse than what it was. We go there, we do our missions, we get all of our guys home. That's how arrogant I was. I remember talking to each of the parents. I said, "Don't worry about it. I'm gonna get your kid home. That's not in my hands."
Right.
I learned that now, right?
Yeah.
We got them all home, but I remember the first day we were there, we got shelled, and one of my guys, it's a tower and it's got a remote control, and it's like I don't know what movie was it. It was like Austin Powers movie where he's like, it's like a super slow descent, and we're getting shelled, we're getting mortared, and it landed right outside there, and boy, I tell you and just seeing all that stuff, it's very humbling, and that point I was 25, 26. Mm-hmm. It was that moment in my life I realized what life and death was. I get home, I get out processed 90 days afterwards. When we get back, those guys, those poor son of bitches, they have to deploy again to Iraq, and I got a lot of friends that are there, and it's the same situation. A lot of them got fucked up, and I remember my buddy Jason Carey, who was, I remember that email. I probably still have that same email, and just to describe the pain and anguish and the intense firefights that they were in. It was bad. I mean, those soldiers, man, I tell you what, soldiers go through hell. Like, and people don't understand. It was funny to me because when we got that derecho that happened, you got a little snippet. You got a little snippet of what it was, and people were freaking out. They didn't have cell phones. They were looking for energy for their house. They didn't have water. Like, they were freaking out, and I just
they weren't even being shot at.
No, and it's like that's what these countries, bro. I know you're a huge history buff, and you like read. You're a very educated person. Like, you read about this stuff, and I'll just never forget it, man. These kids running through the mountains, no shoes, snow. It's cold, bro. And I'm like I have such a soft heart for kids, you know. Yeah. And I'm like, so I remember it was Christmas, and I said, hey, what do you want? Everybody, my family's asking me, what do you want in a care package? I said, do me a favor. Send me coats, send me jackets, or send me shoes, send me anything you can. And my grandma got with the church, and they sent a bunch of stuff, and I just handed that out. I wanted to, even though I was in the infantry, you want to kick ass, right? You want to go there. You feel like at that time I was defending my country, and I was ready to kick ass, right?
Do you think you were?
Man, that's a tough question to ask. Man, I don't know, Keoni. The older I get, the more
no.
Yeah, maybe not. It's kind of tough. I love my soldiers, and anybody that serves our country.
That doesn't mean that they're not honorable.
Yeah. No, I know.
It doesn't mean that they're not.
It's hard to go against my country because I'm what I've been through. But
I think that's something that needs to be talked about because there's no dialogue with it. It's like you're either for America or you're against America. That's bullshit. You can question. You have to question.
Oh, I've questioned.
That's how America is, right? But I think a lot of times if people question a military action, like I questioned Iraq. Yeah. I went, okay, Osama bin Laden, he's the mastermind, and he's in Afghanistan. Yeah. Go after him. Yeah. Bring his head home on a stick. Yeah. Pretty easy deal. Yeah. Probably. But then when they went into Iraq, I was like, well, wait a minute. Yeah. If I am against this, it doesn't mean I'm not a patriot. Yeah. It means I want probably poor men and women to not get shot in the face. Yeah. And there didn't seem to be any real infringement upon our liberty here with Iraq. Yeah. Specifically. Afghanistan, I get it. Yeah. But when soldiers go there, like I feel like there's this big problem that nobody wants to talk about because it hurts and it's really ugly. And the big problem is we have 22 soldiers a day that are killing themselves. Yeah. We have soldiers that have issues getting treated for the things they need to get treated through the VA. You have people that question United States political policy or war policy or militarization. And then you have a lot of people that jump up and go, why don't you support the military? Well, supporting the military is making sure these kids don't get killed because they're kids. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And I feel like now if you go, wait a minute, we shouldn't be in Iraq. This is wrong. People want to immediately go, well, you don't support the military. People in the military are doing this for their own reasons, but they probably have been led to believe through history and teaching through American education systems that they're defending liberty. Yeah. But I believe, this is just personally my opinion, it's dishonorable to the deaths of those soldiers who fought and died to defend liberty to not recognize that they're not fighting for liberty. Yeah. They're fighting for some dudes in suits that would never pick up a fucking gun and march into battle. Those dudes in suits, those older men that have been able to live their lives, and most of them have never had to do real hardcore infantry duty, are making decisions to send these mainly poor kids to die in the name of freedom. That's bullshit. Yeah. It doesn't mean the soldiers don't die nobly. They die more nobly than most people. Yeah. Because they're out there doing the work. Yep. Like they're in the trenches. And regardless of what side you're on in war, it brings the worst out of people and it brings the best out of people as well. Absolutely. But I feel like as a nation, we have to be a little bit more honest and go, just because our soldiers are out there fighting these conflicts doesn't mean they're evil, but we have to recognize evil orders. Yeah. We have to, for me, like I have a lot of respect for people that go into the military because I know it's hard. Yeah. I know it's not easy. It's a scary, intimidating situation. So the people that go into it and then further go dodge bullets, you know, they've got some grit. All the way up the chain of command, for the most part, I know that there's like office politics even in the military. Oh, yeah. But those people have all had to go through some level of shit. And now we have privileged, wealthy Americans deciding the fate and lives of complete strangers.
You know, it's funny. That's a great point. I tell you, I have changed a lot on how I feel and how I think about that type of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Can you be president without ever serving your military?
Yeah. You can if you respect the sacrifice. Yeah. You can if you can look at the military and go, the only way I'm going to send you into harm's way, young man, is if the liberty of Americans is at stake.
Yeah.
It hasn't been.
Yeah.
It arguably, the war on terror should have ended with Al-Qaeda in the hills of Afghanistan or wherever they were at. Should have never went to Iraq. There was hundreds of thousands of people that died that didn't need to die. A lot of them were U.S. soldiers.
Yep.
Or at least I don't want to say a healthy portion, an unhealthy portion. But all of the other wars, tracing back arguably to World War II, were...
My grandpa talked about Korea.
I mean...
He's like, we're still there. Like, he would...
Vietnam?
Yeah. That's...
Vietnam?
You want to hear a crazy story? So I fly back into... Is it Manus? Is it at Maryland, Maine? I don't know. Somewhere there. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, I think, bro. And double doors open. Mind you, I'm so glad to be back on your soil. I made it. We survived. Everybody I loved and cherished for the most part made it back. And it's like, we're home. This is exciting. Can't wait to see my wife. Can't wait to see my kids. And just imagine this. You're going through double doors. Boom. They open up. Hundreds of people are there. 2 o'clock in the morning. Clapping for you. Cheering you on. It was like you just won a state title, you know what I mean? It's just like everybody's like, I was like, oh, this is...
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, what an amazing thing. Here you go. So I'm walking through, and then there's this big, beautiful food spread. There's burgers. My delicious Mountain Dews are there.
Who set this up?
I don't know. It's like a USO thing. I don't know. I have no idea. Still to this day, I don't have.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. So this lady, 2 Vietnam vets are over here, and this lady goes, "Hey, sir, can you convert for me?" I said, "I want my kids to meet a real American hero." And I go, "Those guys right there are your American hero. This guy is not. Those 2 Vietnam vets are right there."
Well, I think you can say that you all are, because
those guys went through a lot of shit, bro.
So did
I understand, but
everybody else.
Boy, I
that's
tell you
a
what,
scary place.
But think about this. Here's my debate with you. I had cell phone. I don't know how. I had a cell phone.
Yeah.
We had food. We had surf and turf night, lobster tails and steaks, but then when we were out, we didn't get that. We had MREs and all that good shit. But I got to watch the Super Bowl. I got to go home. I stayed in a bunk sometimes, and sometimes I didn't. You know, it's just, we're all over the place in Afghanistan. But those guys, oh my God, to the average person, it looks like, yeah, okay, you kicked ass. That it's bad shit. But could you imagine being a fucking Vietnam vet?
No.
The shit they went through.
No.
I'm dumbfounded.
I've read about this too.
Unbelievable.
And, you've seen Platoon.
Oh yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
And Apocalypse Now and some of these movies, but reading about Vietnam, and I want to say I forgot the name that they used for these GIs that would go down in the Vietnamese tunnel.
Tunnel rats.
Tunnel rats.
Yeah.
And the Viet Cong would set traps. And first of all, you're crawling in a tunnel for a smaller statured person, and you don't know what the fuck is down there.
These motherfuckers. You want to talk about real men? Maybe stupid, whatever you want to call them, but they're fucking... knowing that you're going to go to death. Potentially.
That takes balls. Well, so what I read was that the Viet Cong were some of the first to use biological weaponry in the form of giant rats.
Oh, shit.
They put giant rats purposely infected with the bubonic plague in some of these tunnels. So that when the tunnel rats would get down here and be going through a small space thinking it was a corridor to something else, they'd hit a tripwire, and they'd either have giant centipedes or scorpions crawling down their shirt, or a bubonic plague rat running at them trying to attack them.
That's crazy, man.
And they're like,
that
what?
Even sounds
with
real.
a flashlight? It doesn't.
Yeah.
You have to be so, I would think, psychologically so jarred to even convince yourself to do that.
Yeah.
That you'd be living in a nightmare scenario. And when you look at the troops that came back from Vietnam, they were fucked up.
They were spit on.
They were right.
Wasn't that like the hippie era? Like when isn't that kind of like
the end of the end of a lot of the hippie era was like anti-Vietnam, and it should have been, because the Vietnam War itself was bullshit.
Yeah.
But so was this response of treating these soldiers who just signed up for it, just like
they didn't even sign up, bro. They were drafted.
Well, they were drafted.
They didn't ask for it.
Right. So they come back and they get spit on, and it's like you don't understand that these soldiers have nothing to do with it. It's the establishment that pushed them into war. Yeah. You're not talking about any of these world leaders that were so afraid of communism from some little country that they sent a bunch of kids to their death.
Yeah.
In one of the most shitty environments that you can imagine. So bad that it rewrote the U.S. military book on how to commit war and how to commit guerrilla warfare. Yeah. But I remember watching movies about Vietnam and just going, I saw the POW MIA flag. Yeah. And I asked my mom and dad, I was like, what does that mean? Yeah. And they said prisoner of war missing in action. And I'm like, what do you mean? I remember them telling me this because it hurt me so bad. Yeah. They're like, well, there's some people that haven't been found or they were killed in action over there or they're in prison camps. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me?
I can imagine.
You send these guys to this hellhole for just a political reason and they're still over there? Yeah. Like that blew my mind. Like it hurt to know that there were Americans that were duped into this and now they're stuck there.
Dude, that was, that's two things I never wanted to be. Never wanted a Purple Heart. Because, no, thank you. You know what I mean? That's the enemy got you. I'd never wanted a Purple Heart. Never wanted to be a PO or prisoner of war. That was a big fear. What's crazy is we were doing left seat, right with the 100, was it 82nd? I don't know if it was 82nd, 101st Airborne, whoever relieved us. And that really crossed my mind because we're getting ready. We're 2 weeks out. You get a little uneasy when you're 2 weeks out. You know what I mean? Everybody gets kind of complacent.
Waiting for fate to step in.
Oh boy, it's like, man, am I gonna make it? It was Afghanistan was so eerie. It was so quiet. It was just weird. And then it's all over the place. But I remember going through this big bend and there's this mountain and we start having troubles with our Humvee. And you're staggered out 15 meters, I believe, 15, 30 meters away.
So you're not all together.
Yeah, because there's a reason in case a bomb goes or IED goes off. It doesn't take everybody out. And so we're going through this bend and the comms go down. My truck acts up. And the guy, you're always supposed to scan like 10 to 15 seconds behind you and look behind and make sure that everything's fine. So we go around this bend and the Humvee breaks down. I call up Charlie 1-6, Charlie 1-2, like trying to get a hold of my commander, Lieutenant Oliver. And everything goes dead. And I'm like, oh, fuck, what the hell do we do? And I'm like, it's like dusk, and it's like that is the time that they attack because our night visions don't work. That's the perfect time for them to attack. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me! I'm 2 weeks away from getting out of here.
Place too.
Exactly, I'm in a town, so I'm like, quick thinking. I get out of my Humvee and I fire off like 5-6 rounds in the air, and I'm like, man, I hope people are starting to come outside now. And I'm like, please heard that because they did. Sure shit, they heard the gunshot. They flipped around. They didn't realize we were there. But God knows what the hell happens if that doesn't happen. Yeah, because we're a skeleton crew. We don't have our full crew. I think we have 3 or 4 people with us.
And you're in a compromised position. Oh, right? If they were elevated, they would just be.
And I don't think we had a 50 cal Mark 19s at that time. I think we had just a saw up there. So it was real skeleton crew because we're so close. We're just showing them the path and what we were doing there and stuff like that. And that's probably the scariest I've been over there, honestly. And it wasn't even that bad, but it was just the fact that knowing that these motherfuckers overrun us and they
pin us down.
I don't want to be one of those guys. No. You know what I mean?
Where they're getting closer and closer.
So you get everybody out, you pull security, and thank God they heard the gunshots because I was like, because they could have been down the road for a long time. Yeah. So, but yeah, those guys go through hell.
There's probably a million stories like that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That you could go over in your head. Why are soldiers? We talked about suicide, and I think it's an important thing. Why are they killing themselves in the numbers that they're killing themselves?
Well,
because I think everybody knows. They just don't like talking about it.
Yeah. So here's my take. Here's my 2 cents on this. When you're over there, you have ROE, rules of engagement, but it's the wild, wild west, and it's like
who's watching?
Nobody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like I'm not gonna get too much into it, but there's a lot of shit that happens over there that
it's war.
Yeah, there it is.
What do you expect? Like this is what I don't get about people. Oh, the things what the fuck do you expect? you're not complaining about your politicians funding this shit and doing it, but you want to get upset about atrocity when you're shooting at kids.
Anybody that ever says about that, I'll tell you what, you don't have to go through war because there's brave motherfuckers, women and men that'll go do it for you.
Yeah.
Go visit a third world country.
Right, right.
That'll open your eyes like that.
Like the Congo or some shit.
Absolutely. And go visit a third world country. But here's what's going on with soldiers. They go over there, and it's the wild, wild west. It's the only way I can describe it. I don't know how to describe it. Wild, wild west.
Survival of the
fittest. They see so much
yeah.
shit. It's not normal. PTSD. I was one of those guys on PTSD. Here we go, shitbag, and you're almost brainwashed over there. You're tough. You're hula. I always got to kick other guys that come in the army because I paid for my college. Like, dude, you have no idea what fuck you just signed up for.
Yeah.
What I think is going on, Keoni, is like, I can just talk from experience. When you come back, it's a lot of these guys get stop lost over there and stuff like that. When you come back, everything shuts off. It's like, it's eerie. It's more. I was more scared of being back here than I was over there. Over there, I felt like I could control it, even though I wasn't controlling shit. But I felt at the time I was controlling it. You get back here, it's like nobody understands. I got a buddy right now that's going through this shit right now, and he's a really good friend of mine. And I've been there. I understand. I know what it is. Survivor's guilt's another one.
Sure.
It's not.
I could see that.
Dude, watching a friend get killed. Like, it's like one day we're talking. It's just like your dad. It's the same thing. It's one day you're talking, and then boom, they're gone. The next day, it's like what the fuck,
Especially when they're like in the military, they're young.
Yeah,
they're not old men. They haven't lived their whole lives. Most of them are in their early 20s.
Yeah, and so they come back, they out process, and there's no counseling. I will tell you this: if I can change one thing in the military, maybe it's gotten better. I've been out for 15 years or so.
I doubt it.
It's sad, bro, because it's like they have that's the worst I've ever been in my life. And there's guys that have been out there 100 times worse situations than I have. I was bad way when I got back. And it's close I've ever been to divorce with my wife.
So, the movie, what was the movie? The Hurt Locker. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So here's the thing that I think that movie did really good.
Yeah.
I don't know how accurate it was, but it painted a portrayal of life in war, like on the wire.
Yeah.
Like you literally one wire, you could be blown to bits.
Yeah.
Constant chaos,
Yeah.
death all around
Yep.
you, kids being murdered. Then you come back to the U.S. and like walk into a supermarket, and there's people squeezing really nice plump fruit.
Yeah.
And just going about their day and parking like assholes. And you're like, you have no idea what's going on out there. Is that part of it where it's hard to readapt to the calm because you're ready for a fucking mortar to drop around you at some point in time?
It was like
a shell shock in reverse type of thing?
It's just dumb stuff like, you see trash on the side of the road, you think it's an IUD. You drift towards. I still do it to this day. You drift over to the middle of the fucking lane, and it's like, it's programmed in your head. It survive, and then boom, it shuts off. Like it's like you're in a movie, and you come home and I don't know. It's a weird feeling. It didn't hit me until I got back 6-7 months. And something triggered my brain. I think mine was survivor's guilt. I think it was them going to Iraq, and I wasn't there with them because I got out. And it was like, man, I struggled bad. And I think a lot of these guys, I still talk to some of these guys. And man, one of the guys I just served with was on Instagram. Told everybody goodbye. He loved him and killed himself on Instagram. And I'm just like, what in the hell? It's like, bro, I really don't. I don't have a good explanation. I think these guys see a lot of stuff in their lives, and they come home and it gets shut off, and nobody really truly understands what you go through until you go through it. And it's like, I could sit here and talk all day on this podcast and tell you all the cool, crazy shit that we did in the military and basic and all that stuff. But until you experience it, it's like it's a really weird thing. I feel bad because a lot of people don't have what saved my life was this place, 100%.
Jim.
Absolutely. Hard drive saved my life. My wife saved my life. My 2 kids at the time saved my life.
Well, you had faith, right? You had hope.
Absolutely.
You had hope, and you had things to be hopeful for.
Yeah.
But if I'm a young soldier and I left high school and I went into this this place where I was rattled psychologically. And then I come back and everybody is living, newer lives, but they have no comprehension of the hell that's going on out there. Like, even from where I'm at, I could imagine how that would really, really fuck with your head, you know? And then I can only imagine seeing the things that I know people see over there, that they've shared with me off podcast or whatever. I can only think that if I saw those things, I would have real questions about faith and life and the purpose of life too. But that comes down to choice too, ultimately. Like, are you going to make good of this or are you going to make bad of this? And I'm sure you got a lot of lessons from the military.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know what, Keoni? I tell you what. Somebody asked me, I don't know, not too long ago, would you do it all again? Fucking right, I'd do it again.
Yeah.
I have a question.
I don't think that's a really fair question to ask people because unless they're miserable, they should recognize that even that really kind of hard stuff built their character and built their life to what it is. And if they have an appreciation for it, they have to appreciate that shitty stuff too. A lot of the most defining things in my life were the worst. Divorce, the loss of my father. They shifted a huge way in my thinking that brought me to where I'm at. You know, so it's weird to go, I have regrets. Because I'm happy, you know.
Well, I tell you what, man. If I can give a shout out to those guys I served with, some of the best men. We were infantry at the time; they didn't allow women, right? But now they have. But some of the best men I have ever met in my damn life. Still talk to a lot of them. Remember how excited I was? Was it Veterans Day? I FaceTimed pretty much all the soldiers I was in charge with. That meant a lot. Yeah, and it's fun to hear what everybody's doing, and some of the people you're just like, I can't believe it. This guy JJ, I served with, he's now a first sergeant, and he's like tabbed up, Ranger tab. He's got everything, and I'm like, you would have told me 20 years ago this guy was going to be a stellar soldier. I told you you're fucking crazy, but he was. But he's just great. It's like just amazing human beings. I don't know. I haven't. The only other place I've felt that is here. But just amazing people.
The camaraderie.
Absolutely. Yeah. So very similar. Well, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, there is a camaraderie, and we've talked about this, but most people don't know. I think they probably could guess, but in any kind of combative situation where you're putting yourself at odds against another human being, especially when it's real combat. I can only imagine the lessons that you get from that and the brotherhood because it's your life. You know, you're entrusting your life in that survivor's guilt. I'm sure that's probably part of the bond and
the stories that you had. Like I always think of the movie Stripes. So the stories, man, it is. You know everybody's life. You know every guy that has who they've slept with.
Sure.
You know
10 times over.
Oh, probably. 10 times over. The stories. The hell, half of them are probably made up.
Descriptions of women's anatomy.
They're probably made up, half of them.
Or heavily.
That's how we got through it.
Sure.
We got through it.
It's coping mechanism.
Yeah, it was great.
And you miss that, I suppose.
Oh yeah,
because it's you're in the fire and you rely on these men, and then all of a sudden they're just not there.
Dude, I don't know. Maybe I get off on weird shit, but like I literally remember being on a Deuce and a Half, who's big ass, you know, Deuces, right? Like a big ass military vehicle that has the open bays in the back, and it's pouring down rain, and it's nighttime, and I got the night vision goggles. I'm all jacked up, ready to go, and I'm literally thinking there, all these guys back home, my friends I went to high school with, they're doing nothing, and I'm sitting here like I love this. I love this. It's called the suck. I love the suck. I still do. It's really weird. I just felt like I was doing something in my life. Like I was proud to be a soldier. I still am proud to be a soldier. I'm proud to be an American. Yeah, that was good times.
Well, it's an adventure, right? Like you're a young kid and it's like, wow, here's the world.
13, 14 countries I've been to. What's the old saying? Flown around the world twice, talked to everybody once. Yeah. I think that was in that movie, but yeah, that's true. Just a true thing. So,
how do you think the military could, or how do you think that we could do better? Here's something that I've thought about. We got this great military, the best trained military on the planet. Yeah. Arguably, there's some other good ones too, but the most powerful. Yeah. And without question.
Yep.
Why are we in all these countries? Why don't we bring our troops home? If we bring our troops home, don't we have the most defended border ever?
Probably. I've actually thought about that.
Troops all over the fucking world, man.
Maybe there's shit we don't know down there. I don't know. We think we know, but maybe we don't know.
I feel like it's intelligence. I feel like CIA and intelligence is like, well, we need to have people everywhere just in case. But like, that's an empire too.
Yeah. Or it brings money. That type of stuff brings money. Maybe there's just shit we don't know about. We have nuclear weapons everywhere. We have
that's
strategically placed stuff throughout the entire world.
So, like, to me, it's like the nuclear question.
Yeah.
We're a nuclear superpower.
Yep.
We have the mightiest military ever.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we everywhere? Why can't we just have our troops at home in defending our border? And with Canada up there, and with Mexico down there, and 2 oceans, if we have our military, who's fucking with us?
I don't know.
Nobody. But it seems like
it's a higher power man than I have. It's like I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I tell you, if they come here, we're ready, right?
Well, yeah. And the citizens are ready, but like if the military's here, nobody coming here.
Yeah.
Like how could they even show up?
Yeah.
They want to build a wall. I'm like, put troops shoulder to shoulder, baby.
Yeah.
They're not going to get through. You know what I mean?
I tell you, that's above my pay grade, brother. I really don't know. I think,
I think it's money.
Yeah, probably. Potentially. I think that's probably a good fair.
The problem with money for me is that doesn't have shit to do with what this country was founded for.
Yeah.
So you can't justify the deaths of soldiers if it's for money.
Yep.
You just can't.
That's why I got friends like you.
Okay.
That understand the system better than I am, and I'm a grunt through and through.
Well, you know what? For me, it's this.
You've educated me quite a bit.
For me, it's this.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it's like to be running up the beach at Normandy.
Oh man!
And seeing people be shredded all around me, and know that.
Remember that photo you shared with me?
Yeah. If we don't get up that beach, when they're telling us, hey, 80% of you ain't gonna make it.
Yeah.
Probably the guys in the back of the boat might make it up the beach.
It's crazy.
And there's guys on that beach that are bleeding out. They're not going to meet the baby that was just born. They're not going to see their wife, their parents, their siblings, but they're dying on the beach, and they're going, this is for liberty, though.
Yep.
This is for all the marbles. And then later, we're in Vietnam. And I'm like, no, man.
Dude, even before that, could you imagine one word you never want to fucking hear in war? Fixed bayonets. If you hear fixed bayonets, are you fucking kidding me?
Trench warfare.
Oh my god! How about what war was it where they just run up and shoot each other, and the next people come up and run up and shoot each other, and it's
they used to have the lines, the phalanx, like the Revolutionary
Could you
War.
imagine?
Well, as I understand, World War II was the most costly in terms of human life. World War I was the most ugly.
Yeah.
It was like, and we saw the movie 1917, and we saw why, because it was like hell on earth, trench, people being stabbed.
The boys did a nice job on that movie.
Awesome job.
Yeah, they did.
Movie. But
it's hard to watch that shit sometimes.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah,
I'm sure it is. But
Black Hawk Down was probably the number one.
Very close, right?
Oh my god!
In terms
just the way those boys, man. I've got to.
That was Mogadishu, right?
Mogadishu, yeah. One of the guys was my drill sergeant that was in that.
Really?
And what an odd individual, but fucking great soldier. He was squared away, and Keoni, I don't get intimidated by shit. That guy intimidated me. He
saw some things. Huh?
Oh, dude, he didn't say shit. Drill Sergeant Begley, I'll never forget him. Delta Force, just fucking scary, dude, scary.
Ice cold.
I remember one time I was marching these guys, and he's like, I don't need no dumb fucking jock marching my. I was like, Jesus. So I get out of there, and after I won that, he didn't say shit to me, never besides that. And then I get the highest PT score and stuff like that. He pulls me out of formation, grabs me by the chest, and he goes, good fucking job. 2 things he ever said to me.
That was it.
That was it. That guy was in that whole fucking conflict. He was like right on the whole deal.
The hardest of the hard.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was Delta Force.
It's interesting too to me that we live in this this kind of this MMA culture, this martial arts culture, and there's a lot of guys in this culture that are like, there's some ego. There's still ego even in the highest level. I'm the baddest motherfucker, and I'm like, dude, you might be a hand-to-hand specialist, but there are guys out there that would make mincemeat of you, and it would not be difficult at all.
What's the old saying? There's always somebody out there who's better than you.
Yeah, but now there's like a shitload of people that are better than you.
Yeah,
and
there is.
They're trained by the finest and most prolific economy in the history. So the U.S. war machine is impressive.
It is.
The shit that they have I watch YouTube videos sometimes and I'm like, Jesus, with this shit. Like,
dude,
the machines of war. It's just as terrifying as it is impressive.
Dude, it is. I remember they did it like, was it the A-10 flew out of us. They did it all. I laugh because I'm thinking about all the fucking Afghanis that were just fucking hauling ass because they thought they were probably getting bombed, but they lined up. Just imagine this. They lined up all the A-10 planes. You should look at what an A-10 is.
It was a bomber?
Yeah, but they had missiles and stuff like that, but it was such a fast plane. And they were pulling out of Afghanistan while we were there. So they did a fucking flyby.
All of them?
Oh my God. The ground shook.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
that guy was like, could you just imagine being an Afghanistan guy, a soldier? Then you're like,
it's like a goat herder. Oh, shit.
They're all dying.
The sky is falling.
But dude, it was nuts. It was nuts. It was cool as hell. But yeah, just the power that these machines got, it's nuts.
So relationships. We talked about loss. We talked about your time in the war.
Yeah.
Relationships.
Oh yeah.
Dane Cook did a bit one time where he said he doesn't have relationships, he has relationships.
It's pretty good.
There's two types. You've been with Jazz since you were guys in high school.
16, 14.
This is unheard of. Really.
This is a crazy story.
Yeah. This is unheard of or extremely rare today.
Oh yeah.
I got together with who I thought was my high school sweetheart, and I could say she was. And I was like, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
We're going to be together.
Yep.
No problemo. And then like 7 to 10 years into it, we were getting the itch and we couldn't stand each other and we needed to get away from each other because we were toxic.
Both great people.
Yeah. And
I love you and Tish.
And happier now.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
and the silver lining of this was, even though that was a super, super difficult time in my life, we get along great.
Yeah.
We go like Tish, people are weirded out by it kind of.
I tell you what, you guys did great on that. Because look what you've saved with your kids, and you guys did awesome with that.
When I was a kid, my mom and dad separated for a while. I told you about that. And I was so abandoned. I felt so abandoned by my mom. Yeah. And I was, the biggest terror that I had then, because I was a young boy, was that my caretakers, my mom and dad, my whole world was going to get split up and divided. And I had all these parents, friends of parents that were getting split up, or had been split up. And that was like a big fear for me. So, when I got married to Tish, I was like, for sure we're going to be together. Yeah. Unless. And I told her, I'm like, if I hate your guts, I'll stay with you. Yeah. Because I know that my grandparents have hated their guts at some point, and my mom and dad have hated it. Yeah. You go through this, and it's a commitment. I said, the only way this is going to change is if there's a level of toxicity for our kids. Yeah. Once we get to the point where I'm starting to wonder if we're negatively or impairing their growth or their development or doing what's healthy, we're done. And we got to that point. Yeah. And that was really, really, really difficult for me. And I feel
I remember that when that happened.
Yeah, it was tough.
I was at Red Lobster and I got a text message from you.
Yeah. Yep. Saying what? Delete Tish as a friend? Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and that that's embarrassing for me to say. Yeah. Because
you were young. How old were you?
I was 30.
Yeah, that's young, man.
But the thing was, I'd been with Tish since I was a kid. Yeah. So this was a great betrayal. This was like, and I was a piece of shit. Like I was like on the flip side of that, I was judging her. I had every bit of judgment that could have been placed back on top of me. But you live and you learn. But I thought for sure we were going to be together. And the props that we've gotten from other people is. We're not going to put each other in front of the kids. This is now the ending of this relationship. And that was hard. Yep. But now we're going to have to start something new. So now, I'm really happy. I'm really proud of the work that we've done and that, Courtney as a co-parent has done because
it's a great dynamic.
Tish will, what?
Oh, I was going to sneak by.
You ain't going to sneak by here. Come on.
The Ronin Thor.
Thanks for the guest appearance. Fuck was I talking about?
Talk about you and Tish and the parents and you guys co-parenting.
Oh yeah. Like Tish. The other day we were talking to Tish because we were celebrating my brother James' 48th. Happy birthday to my brother James. 48. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. We're fucking dying.
Just throw it out there.
We're sold. Anyways, we're celebrating James' 48th, having some cake and stuff. And I go, Tish, what are you guys doing for Easter? Because it's Easter Sunday. We celebrate in early afternoon. And we were planning on going over to Cheryl's, Kojo's mom's,
Yeah.
Cheryl and Jay's. And she's like, oh, I'm going to Cheryl's. Yeah, I didn't know I was invited, so we're just going to go over there. And that's pretty commonplace.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have, a model for my children that even though I failed in something, I didn't I never set their love or our love for them as, or I never put them in front of me and Tish or put me and Tish in front of them. It was always about the kids.
Yeah.
As soon as we made the decision to end things, and it was like a long drug out process where I had to go through some shit for 12 to 18 months. But it was very clear to me, hey, this is a new thing now. It's going to suck.
Yeah.
It's like we're losing each other and it's our life is changing drastically, but let's be a fucking success with the kids. And now I have people going, I don't know if I could do that. And I'm like, well, you have to.
Yeah.
You don't have any
You've
choice.
done a great job. You both applaud you and Tish because shit, that would be tough.
Oh, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
Just get along.
Yeah.
Stop being such an asshole.
Ego. Dropping the ego. We talk about ego.
When people get into divorces or, it's the scenario, okay, let's dive right in there.
Okay.
Man and woman get together.
Yeah.
They have certain expectations upon each
Yeah.
other. Let's say a woman isn't as interested in nighttime activities anymore, as so often, or she's not interested in the same nighttime activities she was
What
when
those
they
activities
started.
be, Keoni?
I'm not going to go into specifics, but I think you know what tree I'm barking up.
Yeah.
He stops showing her attention.
Yeah.
He has resentment. He doesn't feel desired. What does he do? As soon as somebody flirts with him, he goes, oh, you're filling this void that I have, and I'm going to justify it however I want.
Yeah.
He does. She finds out. Her ego's all hurt. He loves this girl more than he loves me. He doesn't care about my feelings, blah, blah. Throws all of his shit out. This relationship of 3 or 4 years comes to a crashing, fiery end.
Yep.
And if they would just talk and try to find some kind of understanding,
ground,
it would never elevate to that point. But that's not what people do. No. I think what people do is there's a honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
And people will date and they're full of shit. They paint this face on, sometimes literally, or they act a certain way. They puff their chest. And then 6 months in, they're like, I don't know, leaving shit in the sink and not flushing their poo or something.
Yeah.
And I've seen this with people where they're like, they love each other so much and they're the best and they're having a great time. And then they move in and 3 months later, they're broken up.
Oh, yeah.
It's a difficult thing. And I think people look at marriage and think that this is some rom-com, romantic comedy movie that's going to unfold in their lives and everything's going to just get better and better. And that ain't the way that shit works. Like, it is its own battle.
Yeah.
And when I got together with Courtney later on, my view of marriage was less this fairy tale, which I think you actually kind of have a fairy tale situation. You're the exception to
I
the
would
rule.
say, my marriage is perfect, no issues, no.
Well, everybody's got their issues, but I looked at it more in my second marriage as a life partnership.
Absolutely.
Like we are working to help each other build each other up.
Yeah.
What's your and Jasmine's secret? You've been faithful and loyal to Jasmine for the entire time.
Yep.
I know people that can't stay faithful and loyal for a year. So what is
my father?
What? Oh no, Craigie. Craigie.
He's doing well now.
What's that mean? Does that mean he's getting even more tail?
He does good for himself.
That's good.
He's got a good wife.
So Craig's a ladies' man. Your pops is a ladies' man.
My dad I describe as Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen.
Wild, 80s wild,
Winning.
race car driver,
Winning.
loves the poon. He constantly chases it.
He calls the poon
Posse.
posse.
I'll never forget that word. I got everybody saying posse.
Posse.
Possee.
Yeah, like posse.
Yeah.
But no.
My dad's wild, dude. He's the complete opposite of me. Don't
do you
get me
think
wrong.
do you think you're that way because you were rebelling against who your dad was?
No, I think, dude, I got a weird situation. I think you got to understand the backstory of this. For you to say, or for us to talk about this. I'm 16 years old, right? Yeah, I'm 16 years old. All my friends, Chase, the one that made the sign for us, right?
Yep.
Panache?
Chase Panache.
Yep.
Yep.
John Rife, Chase, me, on a mission. I just broke up the girl that I had. freshman or sophomore year, whatever. And it was a summer to remember. Probably to this day, one of the best summers I've ever had in my life.
Those are great.
Oh, man. I mean, it was like women partying. I'm not going to say what kind of partying, but just being teenagers, having fun.
Yeah, living it up.
But that was big when we were like putting systems in our car and had the lights going, and we just had a blast, just a ball.
Back when you had to take the deck out of the
deck out of First Avenue cruising,
because if you didn't, people would steal your shit.
Oh yeah, I've had my shit stolen.
And so people leave the deck in.
We might have stole some people's shit. I don't know. But
everybody
anyway,
stole. I
boosting. Remember, it was called boosting.
I had friends that were doing like, oh yeah, I'm just like, why are you stealing people's radios? I didn't have a car.
We're all stupid.
We were, and I'll tell you what. I did some really, really, really stupid shit.
I remember some of the stories you told me about. So Chase was dating Jill, and Troy was dating Michelle, and John was sleeping with everybody. So John was kind of the ladies' man back in the day. But I get out of this relationship. And I was like, hey, it was that fall. We just got done playing Prairie. So it was my junior year. Just got done playing Prairie, and then we're like, hey, there's this girl we want to introduce you to. Her name is Jasmine. And I'm like, yeah, what's up? You know, and
yeah, what's up?
What's up? You know, I got a little swag to me. And so just imagine Blaine.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I know exactly who you are.
Yeah,
I just watched Blaine, and I'm like,
as my sister said, we met.
Okay, I get
So we go to this party. She has a party. Her mom let her have these parties, epic parties she used to have.
Patty?
Yeah.
Partier.
So so there was a hollow out tree that got struck by lightning. So they throw a keg in there. So we just got done beating Prairie. So Prairie and Jeff back then fucking hate each other. It's like this bullshit these kids do now. Let me share. We're all buddies. It wasn't like that. You went to Jeff. You went to Prairie.
There were clearly drawn lines.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, it was like that. I felt like it was just like that. It was like
it
West Side Story.
Nobody. Yeah.
High school versus high school. Like you could have friends from other high schools, but when the football game was on, you did not go over there.
Well, you know, they came over to our field and did some stuff. We may not have stopped on 380, jumped the fence, and painted Prairie blue and their Victory Bell blue.
Statute of limitations.
Exactly.
On that one.
So we go to this party. I see a picture of her. I'm like, this fucking girl is just absolutely beautiful. Completely out of my league. Completely. I'm gonna take a shot though. I don't care. Fuck it. What's the old Michael Jordan say? It's the shots that you don't take or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't hit it if you don't take it.
There it is. And so we go to this party. I'll never forget this, Keoni. LFO Summer Girls. Remember that song?
LFO.
Yeah, LFO. You remember that?
Sadly.
And so, yeah, right. Great song. Billboard top.
That wasn't bad.
No.
It was a fun summer song.
She's in Palms, curly hair. She's dancing with her friend Ellie to this song, Bonfire in the Back. I remember like it's yesterday.
That's awesome.
You know that Wayne's World, that song comes on, Dreamweaver. You know what I mean? Like it's like
Dreamweaver.
Yes, that was going on. I was sprung.
Spud.
Yes, I was sprung, and so we start talking and a little bit, and I go home that night. I get her number, I think, and I go home that night. Grandma's up. Talks to my grandma. Late night talks were the best with her. I go home and I said, Grandma, this is a true story, Keoni. This is really a true story. I said, Grandma, I found the woman I'm going to marry. My grandma's like, yeah, right. And I'm like, dude, this girl was I was like, she's beautiful, she's sexy. Just went out through the whole thing. She's nice, she's sweet, got a good personality. I knew I was going to marry her. The first moment I laid eyes, I knew I was going to marry her. So that's the backstory with me and Jasmine. So, boy, I tell you, we and everybody knew it too. All of our friends said you and Jasmine are never gonna split up. But going through our relationship, like kind of circling back, has been, it's been tough. The secret is, a lot of people ask me this. Well, the secret to me, I think is, and you're really big on this, constant communication.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Her and I have had our ups and downs.
Sure.
Like it's been, and I swear to God, I have been fucking faithful every day I've been married to that girl. I never understood I'm very, what do you call it, monogamous. Like I just, I believe once you take that vow with God, that's it. We've talked about this. A little different views, but
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit different. I get roped up into some of this, but I believe it or not, so
there's benefits to it.
Yes,
for sure.
we've had our up and downs, and I took that vow to her. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to end up like my dad. I didn't want to end up going girl to girl, and so maybe a little bit.
Some rebellion.
But my grandfather and my grandma showed me. Now, my grandpa wasn't no peach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know the whole story behind the old Stepanek.
You ain't gonna know
I
it
won't.
either.
They're gonna die with those secrets.
Yep.
But
just like my family did, apparently.
Well, I found a little bit of my own snippet, so we're not gonna get into that. But I don't know, man. Something about that girl. She does it for me. The other thing I would say is continue to date your spouse. My kids fucking hate this, but they'll understand one day in life. I let them run. They go do what they want. They play their sports. I'll go broke getting them to their dreams, right? Mm-hmm. Give them every opportunity to succeed in their dream. And it could change 100 times. Well, I'm going to change it with them 100 times. But Friday night is ours. So Jazz and I go out every Friday night and we date and we continue to date. And we, communication and continue. I always say continue to date your spouse is what I always say.
Yeah. I think that it might be just,
she's cool though.
Geniusly simple is just keep the connection there. If you lose connection and you stop talking about the things that really matter, or you feel like I've been in relationships before where I feel like there's certain things I can't talk about because I'm going to upset some mood and these aren't like things I think are over the top. These are just normal things for me. It might be me talking about sex, but they don't want to talk about it. And it's like, you are supposed to be there for me in some way as a barrier. And now I don't feel like I can talk to you about this. And now I want to figure this out somewhere else. I think you're absolutely right. It's when you get caught up into the habits and the cycles of life. And I think anybody can relate to this. There is no potential wedge right into the heart of a relationship like a child. Once you have a relationship and you have a child, the whole dynamic changes. You have to do like what you're doing and go out of your way to make sure that you have your time. Because what happened in my marriage is now all of a sudden either Tish is with the kids or I'm with the kids or we're both with the kids and it's never just me and Tish. It's never me and Coach O. And you have to absolutely keep that because if you don't, they're going to try to find it somewhere else.
Well, I was just talking to a guy about this today. It's like so many, I don't know what the divorce rate is, but
it's like half, right?
Yeah. Well, you think about, hell, I don't know, but you think about this as like, okay, so you have kids, right? You have this fairy tale wedding. You have kids. Well, kids leave. They leave the nest. Now you're back to this spouse. Well, if you've neglected them for 20 years, 18, 20 years, or whatever your kids are spaced apart, you got to figure out who you're married to again. You may not like them.
Right.
And that's what happens. So that's when I say, any married couple, if I can get any married couple advice, date your spouse. Continue to grow. Jazz and I right now are going through, I don't know if a low point, but like, she's kicking off her career.
Challenge,
one of the hardest working women I know. And right now we're understanding each other again. You know what I mean? I'm kind of figuring out who I am. And she's becoming now a successful businesswoman. And it's either I figure out to go with her or that's it. You know, it's just constant. We're constantly evolving as human beings and as a married couple. I mean, that's just.
I think like if you have a child and you don't relegate some of that time to just you and the spouse separate from the child. A lot of people have a hard time doing that. Oh, my baby, I don't want to leave my baby. Find a sitter.
You have to
get somebody that you can trust, or get your mom or your dad to take mom or dad responsibilities because you're absolutely right. How often does it happen where, oh, we're married, everything's pretty good, that's what we're going to report on social media, but then as soon as Sandy leaves senior year, 3 months later, we're divorced.
I fucking hate social media.
Social media is.
I know we've been rounds on this. I fucking hate social media, and I'll tell you why. Because it makes the average life. I mean, look at me fucking suicides we have as kids. Mm-hmm. Because they see in a perfect world. Well, my wife isn't perfect. Like, I couldn't imagine what the suicide rate is now compared to what it was 25, 30 years ago.
I don't know, but social media is one of the most shallow, full of shit mediums that you can possibly get onto. And the reason I say that is because I have firsthand experience listening to a man talk about how his marriage was in shambles and about to be ended.
Yeah.
And then this is about a fight that just happened that day.
Yeah.
And then later on that day or the next morning, I see his wife post on social media, "Thank you so and so much for all of these years, and we're so happy." And I'm like, you ain't fucking happy. No. You're fronting. So now your husband is looking at that and going, "You're even more full of shit because you're lying to everybody about this picture life that you don't have."
See, that goes to like what you and Kojo had in that relationship, and that's kind of a good segue into this. Is like, what you see with me is what you get. I act no different around my buddies going out drinking. Yeah. Which I really don't, but go out with my buddies drinking than I do when I'm with my wife. Yeah. Call it disrespectful.
Whether she likes it or not.
Yes, exactly. But you'll never catch me being a different person, right or wrong.
Right.
I am who I am. And you're very similar. You're the same exact way. And
that's why our wives trust us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're so, look, man, I'm a flirt. I'm a Stepanek, man. We love women, and I totally get it. But I ain't no woman out there ever gonna say I had an affair with Brent Stepanek. I promise you that one. Yeah. And there's a level of respect. I don't change who I am. I am who I am, and like it or not, and that's what I love about her. I can be me. Do you know how many guys? And this kind of segue off your last podcast. How many guys act so different around their wives than they do when they're with us?
So this is important because we talked about masculinity.
Yeah.
Part of masculinity, clinically proven, scientifically studied, is this desire that we have for women. Truly men look at women more as objects than women look at men.
Fair enough.
Women want this experience and men want the experience. Yeah. But I feel like if I have this masculinity, if I have testosterone, you know what testosterone does to you?
Oh, yeah.
It makes you build muscle, it makes you aggressive, and it makes you want to have sex.
Yep.
If this happens all the time, get into a relationship, this person that you meet is putting on a front. They might be putting on a front, psychologically, emotionally, or even sexually. Yep. And this is kind of like I can edit this out if it's too graphic, but we've all heard about the guy who used to get head until he got married. Yep. And then he doesn't get head anymore. Yeah. So what was the big change? Well, there was a front being put up. There was behavior being acted upon. Yeah. Now we're married and you don't do it, which means you didn't like doing it before. Yeah. Right? Yep. And you've changed, which means that you were trying to lure me into this situation that now it's changed. Yeah. If a man who is a pretty primitive and simple creature doesn't even have the opportunity to go, look at the fucking ass on that woman. Yeah. And have their wife go, yeah. Mm-hmm. Something starts to slowly boil inside of them, I feel. And there are many, many men out there, many men, as my own wife stated, she hangs out with dudes, has pretty much her whole life around the athletic circle. All they do is talk about sex. Yep. And then when they get around their wife, they're the nicest, most respectful gentlemen. You're full of shit. Yeah. You're lying to yourself. Yeah. You're lying to your wife. And those men, I argue, harbor this rage inside of them because they're not getting what they want. And a lot of them can't even speak to their wife about what they want. Yeah. Because what they want might be too taboo or, shamed upon or something. Yeah. So, to have a wife like Courtney who doesn't necessarily appreciate my eye being drawn to other women, she understands it. Yeah, yeah. And it's transparent enough that she knows that it's a little decompression thing. Yeah. If I can look at an attractive woman and just recognize that she's attractive and not be like abrasive or catcall or anything.
Just disrespectful.
But go to Courtney and just be like, man, she has an amazing body. Yeah. And have her go, yeah, that's true. I can see it. That's almost just enough for me. If she were to come back and go, I don't want to hear about that immediately. You know me. Yeah. I'd be upset.
Yeah.
Like, this is a diffusing for me, and I think a lot of men don't have that diffusing. They just front and then hate themselves, hate their wives, and end up going out and doing what?
Whatever, cheating.
Manifesting in some way.
Yeah, they're I think that's that's my number one thing, I think. Boy, I tell you, she's very classy too. Like, classy is like, it's not like, look at me on Instagram. I'm doing squats and showing my ass, or she's got a certain level.
She has
of class.
Self-respect.
There it is. Yeah. Thank you. Self-respect. And maybe I'm just not into this new generation of, look what I ate, attention me. I don't know. I'm not that way.
I don't mind look what I ate, because
I get it. But now
I like
that was a
food.
bad term, but it's more like,
look at me.
look at me. And how many girls have we talked about on that shit? And I really talked to my daughter about that, because that's
Mia's how old now?
She's gonna be 15.
Yeah, so she's growing up too fast. Yeah,
it's my baby.
Not anymore.
No, she's becoming a woman now. I think that's just what I loved about her. Is she's classy. That's my number one thing. Two, she just lets me be who I am. She knows I ain't going nowhere. One, I ain't gonna get much better than that girl right there. I mean, she's beautiful. She's smart. She's hardworking.
You really won't. No. And people don't.
Yeah.
They if they get upset or they get frustrated in their relationship, they'll start telling themselves that. But it's not really true. The dating scene? No thanks.
No, yeah. And I love women just as much as the next guy. But at the same time, it's like, I know what I got at home, man. And I ain't gonna screw that. I'm not gonna screw that up. But man, marriage is tough. It really. You guys, like I said, you got to constantly evolve with them and with yourself, and you guys grow old together. That's one thing I'm really looking forward to. I don't want to really age myself or get older, but just growing old with her and being those awesome grandparents that I had.
Yeah.
Being that for my kids, breaking the cycle, because we both come from broken families.
Yeah.
Like, there's no structure in any of this shit. And on both sides of the family.
Isn't that weird? Like, that lack of structure might have driven you both to do the opposite.
Oh, it did.
You know?
I remember at
still
a young age.
Still a choice, but like it might have been impactful in that.
I remember being at a young age saying, we're going to break the mold, is what I said. So we're going to break the mold. We're going to be the difference maker. We're going to stay together, and we're going to be great, awesome parents, and then we're going to be amazing grandparents. And then, maybe one day people do podcasts about how we were great grandparents. But relationships are tough.
They're like a partnership, and if people looked at them more like a partnership, they might think about it before they got into it, and approach it differently in it.
Yeah.
I think people romanticize it too much.
Yeah,
romance needs to be in there.
Yeah,
and connection needs to be in there, but so does a willingness or a knowing that this isn't going to always be, sunshine and rainbows. There's going to be dark times, and that's what thin is called.
Yeah.
Thick and thin.
Yep.
And if they won't go through the thin with you, bail.
I tell you, what has been crazy about a relationship is like, I'm going to be real blunt here, is like, I remember making $500 a month, living off post, $400 a month, living off post, have $100 to my name at the end, having a brand new baby, having a mattress on the floor. Poor as fucking poor. Mm-hmm. She stood by my side. To where I'm at now. Okay? Big difference. Huge difference, right? Mm-hmm. Great. I got the nice house, fancy car, whatever. It is what it is. And successful. She's been through everything with me. Mm-hmm. You think I'm going to throw that away for a piece of pussy? I'm good.
Yeah.
As Pops would say, posse.
Well, and we're a little older, so it's getting a little easier to curb some of these thoughts.
Yeah.
At least it is for me.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is just also, looking at what you have and going, boy, I'm not taking this for granted. Because I've done that before.
Well, of course.
I've never done it with Courtney because I made mistakes doing it in the past.
We're men. We're stupid. We think with our dicks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we really are.
And
we really do.
I feel like we've talked about this. I feel like a lot of the problems, and I'm gonna get heat from this. I don't care. Fuck off. A lot of the problems in the world are due to the male ego.
Yeah.
And due to women's emotional instability.
Yeah.
Or irrationality.
Yeah.
And there's probably a woman out there going, "You sexist pig." Well, there's a lot of women that have told me that they're just more emotional creatures, and I've done a lot of reading to suggest this type of thing.
What would your mom say?
I think she'd agree.
Would she agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's a feminist of the older order, not now, but
powerful woman.
There are pros and cons of masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
And we used to live in a society that recognized that.
Yeah.
They didn't go, women means inferior and women means that.
Yeah.
They just recognized that there were some inherent quality traits about men and women that actually countered each other and balanced each other out.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's the case anymore. I feel like, men don't act like men and women are trying not to act like women because they feel like they've been subjugated or held down. And they have. They just recently got rights to vote not that long ago.
That's crazy. I've changed my view when it comes to women.
How so?
Well, think about it. I grew up in a male-dominant infantry army. And when I really started respecting women athletics was when I was in the all-army wrestling team. And I seen girls like Tina George, and we're just talking to Sarah McMahon about this. Tina George and Ira Smith, they were murking dudes and sent them home on an airplane. Like, you can't even beat our girls. You think you're going to be on this team? Send them home on an airplane. I'm like, fucking A, man. These women are amazing. And then I started meeting, like, powerful women.
Yeah.
I think I'm surrounded by them.
Yeah.
Kayla, Angie, Kojo.
Strong-minded, confident.
And then it's like, boy, they'll put me, my daughter.
They're the exception.
They put me in my place.
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, I respect
There's not
it.
many either,
No.
and that's an alarming thing.
Yeah.
There's not many masculine balanced men,
Yeah.
and there's not very many confident females out there. And
I'm so attracted to confident females.
The thing that people don't get, and the thing that I think even women don't get, is if for the man you're probably looking for, and I'm not trying to say that we're the men that we're looking for, but if you're looking for a confident man, leave the makeup off.
Yeah.
Work out.
Yeah.
Get into shape. Have respect for yourself and just be you.
Yeah.
Just smile and open your eyes big,
Yeah.
and some dude will just be drawn to you like a moth to a flame.
Yeah.
That confidence.
Yeah.
Courtney never wears makeup.
No.
When she wears
Beautiful
makeup, I'm
girl.
like, what?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
That looks weird to me.
Yeah.
She never wears makeup and she never does her hair.
Yeah.
And so when she does, I notice. But what I really am more attracted to than when she does herself all up is the confidence that she doesn't need to. That's what I was always looking for.
Yeah.
You know? But I feel like the generations that we live in, not the generations of my dad or your grandpa.
Yeah. That's a different story.
They're weak, man. They've I don't care what anybody says. I'm not knocking any specific this age to that age. We are progressively increasingly getting weaker and weaker mentally and psychologically. It's just it's crazy to watch some of the way these people act out here in the world, and we have to, as business owners, adjust and deal with this. So relationships are tough. We know that, but we have really good, strong relationships with our wives.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere, even though we
we
drive them absolutely.
Oh,
nuts.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm stubborn. I'm hard-headed.
And they are too.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I can't speak for Jasmine, but Courtney's hard-headed.
Jazz, a pretty cool cat. I mean, you know her pretty well.
Yeah.
She lets me do what I want. You know what I mean?
Well, again, that comes down to trust. If you've been
She's
with somebody that
confident
long,
person. Yeah.
she knows what she can do. Business ownership. Last topic. Last topic, probably the most volatile.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks.
At times.
At times, it fucking sucks.
And at times, it's great.
What do you think most people think about business ownership?
They're rich.
Yep, they're rich and they get to do so many cool things.
That's the biggest misconception there is.
It's so much drama.
Yeah.
It's so much stress. It's so much babysitting.
Yeah.
It's so much just shit.
Yeah.
That it's exhausting.
We're exhausted right now, just even the opening statement.
Like, we don't even want to talk about it really, but we have to address it. It seems like every week there is some big fire that needs to be put out, and it's not really that big a fire. And I feel like business ownership, I thought the same thing. Oh, it'd be so cool. Set my own schedule. And all that is great if you're able to do that. But really what you don't take into account is it's 11 o'clock and you're cooking dinner.
Yeah.
You know, or it's 6:30 in the morning and you got a private, but some little kid pissed all over the floor.
Threw toilet paper in the...
And you don't know if because you've seen people walk right up into a puddle of piss. You don't know if your client's going to, so you have to get down there. That's business ownership.
Yep.
It's so not...
Wife screaming at you when you get home. You need to have a work-life balance when you're answering your phone at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning.
That actually, that you bring it up, was part of the big friction in my first marriage.
Yeah.
I committed so much time to mixed martial arts and training and hard drive and shit that didn't spend time with Tish at a time when we were having kids and she was spending a lot of time with them anyway. And then I had this passion in my life that like is going to dominate all my time.
Yep.
She didn't have anything but the family and I wasn't there.
Yep.
You know,
Missed a lot of time out in your kids' life.
I missed a lot of time out of my kids' life, and I just recently realized it. In like the last 2 years, I was like, wow, I had my
Peyton's
kids
graduating this year.
Yeah.
Lane next year.
Yep. And I've got 4 years with Ronan.
Yep.
And it's dawning on me now that my time with Peyton, I've spent more time with Peyton now than I'll ever spend with her for the rest of my life.
And that's crazy that she's graduating.
It's a weird thing to think about because, you know, you go from having them in your life, you know, relatively every day. Tish and I have half and half, but I see the kids like every day basically.
Yeah, pretty much. She works and.
But to know that the physical amount of hours and time added up from 0 to 18.
Yeah.
That is by far the most time I'll spend with my daughter in my lifetime.
Yep.
From now on, with her in college and developing her own life, it'll become a once a week thing. If I'm lucky, if I'm a lucky parent. Yeah. So that really dawned on me, and I feel like our family does a good job of kind of like every Sunday I go to my mom's house and have coffee and sit and chill. My dad did that with his parents for decades. Yeah. So I hope my kids do that with me, but I'm realizing that my time is short. And I realized that I don't want to raise any other kids other than my own. Yeah. And that's what business ownership is. It's babysitting a huge amount of people, clients, staff, all of this stuff. When a big problem comes up, you're the guy that has to solve it. And I feel like I'm getting to a point in my life where I want to be less directly involved in it because perception versus reality. My perception was this is going to be the best time in the world. And reality is it's just really, really hard work.
For some reason, we must be glutton for punishment because we keep opening shit.
Well, you know, and the other people would look at us and go, what are you talking about? You guys are a success. Look at what you have. Yeah. But those people, of course, are lacking a very important part of perspective. Yeah. And it is all the extra shit that you have to deal with. Yeah. Wrestling parents, this, that. Right when you think you're getting into a 5 or 6 day flow and things are starting to get smooth, some huge issue happens and you're like stuck here going, okay, now I have to play cleanup crew. Yep. And it's nonstop. It never stops. Yeah. And that's what business is.
But we got 300 members here, 350 members.
I have no idea.
Between the two locations, I think I counted, it was like almost
maybe between elite, but in terms of like in hard drive, it's not a huge gym. Yeah. But it's
a pretty damn good sized gym.
It is, in the most important thing about it, the story I think for hard drive is where it came from. Yeah, that's all you need. All you need to know. If you walked into our gym and looked at it and went, "Wow," and then you said, "Hey, who started all this?" and somebody said, "Some dudes in their basements." Yeah. Taught themselves how to fight, and then now this is a thing. They probably wouldn't believe you. They'd probably think that you were kidding.
Shit, you know what's crazy is like you think of hard drive and like. I think of hard drive. I think of Dave Scherzer, and I think of you. Mm-hmm. You know, you guys combine the teams, and I know the history, but
and that was right before. That was shortly before you showed up, right? So
I think I showed up in end of 2008, 7 or 8. I can't remember.
Well, we started training. Dave and I have known each other since like '98. Yeah, but we started unifying the team not all that long before you showed up. But that's the thing. People think. That was the beginning. People think like when I recruited Devin and Eric, my brother, and Jesse Lennox and these people, that was the beginning.
We'd already been training way before years old, weren't you?
Well, I was
16 maybe.
I was 14 when I first started reading Bruce and martial arts books and like getting DVDs somewhere in there, early teens. I picked up UFC when I was.
Have you ever told the story on your podcast about the beginning?
I'm sure I did.
Yeah, with you and your brother, I think you did.
But even when in like '98. When UFC was still in blackout mode and on like DirecTV only and not cable, they were having these little fights around Iowa in like National Guard armories and stuff like that. And
smokers? Were they called smokers, or is that more of a boxing thing?
They were just unregulated street fights. Like I'm not shitting you, Brent. The first event that I ever saw live was me and a guy, Kurt Marble from Blairstown, one of the first guys. We went to this armory where we had heard on the underground forum online, which was a little forum of like 4,000 people across the country that kept the sport alive for like 6 years. Yeah. We heard that there was going to be a fight show. It was like a 30, 40-minute drive in some small town. And we're like, what? Like people would really go here? That doesn't sound right. Well, we show up. It's like $10 entrance fee. we put our $10 at the door in the little plastic thing or whatever, and we walk in. And there's a bunch of dudes, probably 30 men, 30 to 40 men. Most of them have, or at least half of them or a little less, have taped up hands.
Yeah.
And they're fighting on a concrete floor with folding tables. You know the folding tables with the tube legs?
Oh, yeah.
That fold up into the tables? They're not even on the tube legs. They're just on the floor. There's table. I don't know. It was maybe 3 to 4 tables. It was like 4 by 4 or something. But then they took these like military tents or these really industrial canvas carps and they put like 3 or 4 layers over it. That's what they fucking fought on.
That's crazy.
I saw an 18-year-old kid fighting like a 30-year-old man, and the 30-year-old man pinned him down, put his forearm in there, and elbowed him. And you could hear his skull hit the table because it was concrete underneath it.
That's crazy.
You could hear it reverberate. Yeah. Nobody got paid anything for this event.
That's nuts.
It was all free. And this was like 98.
That's nuts.
You know, that's where the sport was at that point.
Sophomore. I was a freshman in high school then, Keoni.
Yeah. So
you were a senior, I think, at that time. Right?
98, I was a senior.
Yeah.
And but actually, I wasn't a senior. I was living in Belle Plaine.
That's right. Yeah.
And I dropped out of school at Jefferson. So my whole senior year was spent running around in Jeremy Douglas's Mustang, or not Mustang, his Camaro, looking for snakes and just being a fucking moron.
Yeah, yeah.
Having a great time.
Yeah, yeah.
That was when I was like free.
Yeah,
I moved out of my parents' house, and it was wild, man. I was 16, living with 17 finally. I turned 17, but Tish moved in with me and put myself through high school and all that shit. But that's where the real story kind of starts.
Yeah.
Back then. And
I think I came in, I think it was end of 2001 in the military, 2000, almost 7 years. So I think it was to 08 I came in.
Yeah.
08.
So it's like we've been for 10 years.
I remember the first time I met you and your brother.
At the Armory?
No, I came back on leave.
Mainstream, was it?
Yeah, you and your brother fought. I'm like, these guys are fucking good.
Yeah.
Like I remember thinking like these Koch brothers, man, they got a hell of a future fucking ahead of them. And that's when I just get out and I think I was introduced. Well, Bo, I knew Bo. Mm-hmm. We lost touch after high school, but saw Bo. I talked to Bo, and they're like, "Yeah, you guys should come train." And I came and trained. First night was wrestling night. I did very well. Second night was stand up. I got my ass kicked.
Learned some lessons.
Fucking ass kicked. And I was like, I got to know this.
The funny thing is, I remember that.
Do you?
I remember who you were sparring. I could tell he was taking advantage of your inexperience, and it pissed me off.
It was just stand up.
Yeah.
It was just stand up.
And so
he wrestling have been different.
He knew what he could do, and he knew that you were inexperienced, so
Yeah.
he took it to you.
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't take it to other people like this.
Yeah.
So the next round I sparred him and just
pissed at him.
Just belittled him. Little guy chasing him around, beating the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And like, that's one of the things that I miss about our gym, and we still have that to a degree here.
Hmm.
We have a really good positive attitude, but when somebody stepped out of line, there was always somebody that was going to check
Dude,
them.
I remember when I first started, I was scared to come to fucking practice. Like, fuck, I've been through war, man. Like,
Everybody
I
is.
was nervous. I had butterflies. Like, fuck, am I going to survive a day fucking practice today?
Yeah, everybody was. That's what people don't get. Everybody's nervous.
They see the classes now and the structure and
they're scared of that.
good morning, ma'am, or you know what I mean? Good afternoon, sir.
The polish.
The polished Brent and Keoni. But back in the day,
Well, and back in the day, even with what we have now, people are scared to come in here.
I know.
And this is like a nice, clean, big, beautiful facility, and there's still people that just shit their pants with the idea. It bugs me to know that there's adult men and women out there that want to do this, and they don't because they're afraid.
Right.
Because when I was a kid, that's how I was, and it was like miserable.
Mm-hmm.
You're living in misery of who you want to be but won't allow yourself to be, letting fear dictate your life. And most people come in here, what do they say? I can't believe this. Like, I can't believe I didn't come in here before.
You know, one comes to mind is Cortland.
Cortland?
I remember we saying there's no way this girl's gonna make it.
Yeah, I had my doubts.
I literally said that.
When I saw this,
she was shaking when she signed up.
Shaking like a leaf.
But I tell you what, she's bad.
Yeah,
she's tough.
Well,
she
had it in her.
She did.
You know,
she did.
And this is what's so great about martial arts is when Cortland came in, she was shaking like a leaf. She didn't think she could do it. She didn't want anybody to touch her. She didn't want to touch anybody else. Now she's a blue belt, she's working into Blue Belt. And the other day when I was in Costa Rica, I reached out to her. I'm like, hey, you know, you've been around for a while. Are you comfortable taking women's only class? And she hit me back. I don't remember what she said, but she said, I don't think I'd be comfortable. I read it, but didn't send anything back for like 3 hours. Yeah. And so like an hour later, I get another message. Okay, I'm going to do it, but I think Tanner's going to help me. I'm like, okay, good.
Good for Cortland, though.
But she taught it.
Yeah.
And Tanner's like, yeah, she did a really good job.
Yeah.
I knew she would. But she was kind of excited that she got through it. Yeah. And it wasn't as hard as she thought. And I go, now I want you to think back. This is really important to do consistently. I want you to go back to day one. And I walk up to you and go, Cortland, can you teach a class on something that you might know a little bit about? Not even martial arts, maybe radio. Yeah. She wouldn't have been able to do it. Yeah. She wouldn't have been able, she's a radio personality. Yeah. She wouldn't have been
very good at her job.
She wouldn't have been able to get in front of our live group of martial artists and do that because she was so nervous. And I'm like, look at you now. You're teaching martial arts to other women. You are so much stronger and so much further along than you were before. There will come a point through martial arts that you'll realize there really isn't any limits and you can do whatever you want. If you can embrace somebody trying to strangle you and have a good time with it, everything else in life, you know, Joe Rogan said it's like turning the volume down on life. Yeah. And I think there's a lot to that. That's why people see it medicinal. Yeah. And I think that's probably something that helped you a lot coming back from the war. You've got this camaraderie, brotherhood, and you can do something physical that brings some
which
kind
I
of,
needed.
Yeah.
That's what makes me think of, like, you know, talking about her being an owner, is seeing success stories. You know, that makes me also think of Seth too. I wasn't close to Seth like you're close to Seth, and Bo was close to Seth. I have a lot of respect for Seth. We talked, but his mom. I remember that call that his mom gave us, or she called. I think she called. Didn't she call me? I think I was at Blaine's basketball game when I got the news that he took his life. But I remember her saying thank you for giving her son another year and or 2 years, 3 years, because that is just how he was programmed. And
she felt he might take his own life like quite a bit before.
Yeah, but he found a place where it give them a little bit more time. And I think that, like, I was talking to Jesse about this morning with all the shit that we had going on, but I was talking to Jesse about it this morning. I don't look at dollars, right? Money's good, right? Money's great. But I look at it like seeing the success stories, paid by success stories of people that have saved their life. I think of guys like Jared Downing, where he'd be if he didn't have this place in the beginning. I think of, like, myself. I think of Seth giving his parents 2 to 3 more years. I think of somebody like Cortland teaching. I think of a lot of these success stories, and there's so many more. Boy, I tell you what, it's really great and gratifying to see us change. Keoni, I know you get a lot of flack, and I know that a lot of I know that a lot of people have turned their back on you as a friend. But I tell you what, man, you're a great human being, and I will straight say that. Like, all it is communication with you. We don't always agree upon everything. We don't. We fight. We're brothers, right?
That's the trust.
That is, and it's just a conversation. But what you've done, and I've got to be a part of this the last 7 years, and I would say I've done quite a bit to get it to where it's at right now. But, like, it started somewhere, and I think with you and Dave, and you guys have given us a hell of an opportunity to do what you guys. This has been a great ride, and saved a lot of people's lives. So I think no matter whatever happens with Hard Drive in the future, and if we're open for another 20 years, if we decide screw it and we're done one day, I think it's been a hell of a ride. It's been fun. It's been great to be a part of.
We've impacted
seen a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, we've impacted a lot of people.
Oh yeah, look at what you've done with the police officer thing.
Yeah. Well, again,
women's self-defense. I could go on now forever.
These are just a lot of people have a piece of this. Yeah. I'm just a dude with ideas, and I've been stubborn enough to push this thing along that it's now a snowball, and I can work with it. Yeah. It's nice now to be able to go, hey, I see a problem in society, and I'm in a place financially where I can give out free time if I want to these police officers, and it'll help my society. I remember reading that a true definition of success is not when you get everything you want, but it's when you can give everything that you used to want away. When you can give those gifts to somebody else. Yeah. And to be able to go from a kid that was reading Bruce Lee books and watching VHS tapes to having people come up to me pretty regularly in this journey, you know, on a monthly or biannual basis and go, hey, coach, I didn't really just need to tell you, you changed my life. There's been some heartbreak, you know, like I think about Seth all the time, and we have a memorial up for him, and I think about where he'd be now and what a fucking crazy talent he was.
He was so talented.
But I also know that in some of those sadder areas, there's triumphs. I know that losing Seth made me completely reformat my own level of discipline.
Yeah.
And go, this kid didn't even get half a chance, and he was close. He was close to making it out, and he didn't. So I have now a responsibility that I have to live kind of for this guy. And then Dad passed away, and then it was just like hyperdrive. Now I got to go into it. But
you've been doing this how many years? How long have you been in business? Or like how long have you been? We've been dealing 7 years. When did you take over his business and become an actual LLC?
I want to say 2010.
So
or early 2011.
So we're going on what, 11 years?
10, 11 years.
10, 11 years. I've been a part of it 7 years. And it's been,
and before that, it was 10 years of no business, but building gyms and taking dues to pay for bags. And like, it was a club.
Yeah.
So I wasn't running a business before then, but I was still incredibly responsible for keeping this training thing alive. If Dave and I didn't have a place to train, people wouldn't have.
No.
You know, people.
I remember a couple of times in this, you know, I remember a couple of times when I was just training and I was just a student that there was times that we were like, fuck, dude, we almost lost places to train, and we did split up for a split second, and then you started Valhalla, and it was like
we had stations all over the place.
I don't know what the whole scenario was with there, but we had a place to train, and then like
at the old boxing gym at Valhalla, we centralized because I moved back. Had my gym, Debo had his, and Dave had his basement, and we were like, we need to get these people together. We got people coming over to my house on Tuesday going over there. It was watered down. Yeah. So we were keeping the trinity. We were keeping the connection together of these groups. Yeah. But we were watering ourselves down by not all getting together. Yeah. And so when Damien told me that Mike was leaving the boxing gym and that this was opening up and he was in good cahoots, I was like, well, this place isn't ideal. It's small, but we can centralize here.
So I've always wanted to ask you a question. So you're 100% business owner. You said, hey, Brent, I want to sit down. We went to Napoli's. We sat down and you I want to give you
Go to Napoli's.
Great Italian place.
Talk to Keoni. Tell him Keoni and Brent sent you.
Yes.
Or Brent.
Shout out, right?
Good people.
He said, hey, what made you seek? I mean, there was a lot of guys like we were really good friends at the time, but like there was guys like Jesse, Bo, all these guys that have been here for a long time, and fair enough, they rightfully deserved it more than I did. But what made you? I always wanted this. What made you pick me out of everyone?
You know, I knew that I needed to get somebody to. I knew the gym was growing so much that it was going to get to a point soon that I couldn't handle it all. Yeah. And I didn't want the gym to fail someday because of my inability to evolve and recognize a problem. Yeah. I looked around to all of the people that were with me. Eric at the time was in Rufus Sport training with Duke. Yeah. Bo was the oldest consistent training partner I had from, Jesse at this point was now EMT and then going into a firefighter. He spent some time at Pat's in Davenport. But the next logical choice would have been Bo, but I didn't know if Bo really was interested in. Yeah. He had a pretty good position. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I didn't know if he wanted to come in and take half of the business. Yeah. I think he, at the time, I just felt like you were more interested and more capable as a salesperson to push this to a place where we'd end up in a place like this. At the time, I wanted to eventually, I had every intention actually of going further and splitting this up because I never wanted to be a sole owner. I wanted this to eventually be a collective where we're all getting paid to do the things that we love. Well, life doesn't work out like that all the time. And I felt like you could just do the job better. Yeah. You had a sales experience. You were good with people. You had a huge network. Yeah. People didn't like me. They liked you. Yeah. And you had a certain couth is a word you like to use. Yeah, couth. Where you can talk to people. You're sociable. Yeah. And you were able to, I felt like you were able to do the things that I wasn't strong at. I didn't want to do. Yeah. And that we're going to need more attention in the coming years.
Remember the first thing that we did as business partners? Pissed a lot of people off.
What?
Kicked out DMX.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it wasn't a kick out. Let's clarify that. Because I still get flack to this shit from this
It
day.
wasn't a kick out. It was them not doing what they were supposed to. It
Yeah.
was the leadership of that club not paying their bills and getting kicked out.
Yeah. Well, it was that, but I offered him that position. I said, hey, I think more than all that, because it wasn't all that. It was more of like, we wanted to brand everything hard drive.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Well, that was a big part of our decision was
Yeah.
that there was no need to continue to prop up other
Yeah.
brands
Yep.
and then have those brands march out of our doors. Like Hard Drive got to where it was because it was a collective effort, but
Yeah.
along the way, there were a lot of people who tried to take a piece of that collective effort.
Yeah.
And that club was one of them.
Yeah.
They paid, but I also know there were times they were late. I also know there was time where money didn't quite add up to what attendance looked like.
Yeah.
On top of all of that, now I have somebody building this big brand
Yeah.
and paying X amount that they agreed to, but they're taking up space now.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to split our gym in half.
Yeah.
Before that, I willingly split my gym in half for a gym, a strength and conditioning gym.
Yeah.
And they took half of the gym. We took the other half.
Yeah.
It worked for a while, but then we had to move up. But it's not easy. I think the thing about being
That was tough because the guy, I actually have a lot of respect for him. I think he was an amazing coach, and he's produced a lot of the great athletes, wrestlers that are out here right now. He was a great coach, and that was kind of a tough deal. And I think he felt a certain way about me, and I never wanted to do that. Wasn't my intentions. My intentions were to brand. It was strictly a business move. And
well, it's business.
Like,
You know, like it can't be personal, and that's probably the hardest thing
Yeah.
about business is you have to separate yourself
Yeah.
from the emotion, and it's very difficult to do
Oh,
that
yeah.
because we are wrapped up in these people's lives. So
Yeah.
when we have one of these issues that becomes an issue for us, like we're concerned about it. You know, we want to see it. We want to see it handled, but it was tough. But I knew that you would be. Out of all of the people, I felt like your personality and what you were capable of could do one thing, and that's generate money.
Yeah.
And that's what we needed. We needed capital. We needed to be seen, and we needed to grow.
We went on a mission to get sponsorships. Remember that?
Yeah, it was a growth thing.
Yeah.
For you, when I thought about what do I want to do with this, I want to grow it to a place where it
Yeah.
can sustain wages, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Out of the people that I was working with in their life situations at the time, you were the best candidate.
Yeah,
That was
fair
it.
enough. I've always kind of wondered that, but yeah, we've done it. There was a time you left your job, then you went back to work.
Mm-hmm.
I left my job, which just Jazz about killed me. It was a 6-figure-year job, and I leave, and she's like, she stood by me. There's that other time, right? And that was when Boston we just had Boston.
It's a shitty
That's
job.
5 years ago, almost 5 years ago.
Shitty
Think about
job.
that.
It was a shitty
And
job.
we got off the ground there really well. That was I think you implemented the BJJ affiliation.
Mm-hmm.
Duke came in with the kickboxing affiliation, and there's some trial and error there, and
Just
and then
streamlined it.
wrestling and
What I think business does is it teaches you what people really are.
yeah.
And I think a lot of times we live in this fantasy world where we make small talk.
Yeah.
We bullshit. We post on social media about how great our life is.
Yeah.
And what running a business will do is give you some of the best rewards that you can get in life, but it will also teach you some of the truest lessons about what human nature is really like.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate reality is, while there are a lot of shiny, happy people that are supportive and positive and do great things, there are those that say they are, they pretend to be, they talk the talk, but when it comes to walking the walk, business will teach you that people will stab you in the back on a moment's notice.
It's
To a
funny you
certain
say that.
degree.
I've never had an enemy in this world to become an own business owner. I got along with everybody.
Yep.
I've got more enemies. I don't think I got a lot of enemies, but there's some people that probably want to see me fall my ass.
When you're put in
Yeah.
a position that people see it as a position of privilege or power, whether it be a head coach or a business owner or both, people are going to hate you.
Yeah.
And you could, I've went so far out, I'm not doing this anymore. I've went so far out of my way to please
Yep.
and keep the balance.
Yep.
And now I'm in a place in my life where I'm not looking out for you anymore.
Yep.
You're a grown ass person. You do it on your own. I'm going to develop this business, grow it. And if you can use it, you can use it. If you can't, it's on you. But I used to try to please everybody. I used to try to go, oh, well, how's this going to impact this person and that person? Are they going to get upset? Can I somehow make a position for this person? Now it's like, I believe in martial arts. Yeah. I know what it does for people. How can I get it to the most people, the most effective way possible?
And fuck the people that want to see you fail.
The people that want to see me fail, the people that are toxic. We had some toxic elements on our team. Back in the day, some of these people that trained with us were so toxic that we had to literally remove them from the gym. These are people that we would have called OGs back in the day. Yeah. People that trained at Valhalla. But
a lot of them were friends.
They were so toxic and they were so undermining of any kind of authority. Like I would have people, I won't name any names, but there's this cat that ducked people in the gym, and this was kind of known and kind of laughed about amongst the elite in our gym, that this guy was a serial ducker. Even though he was a pretty tough cat, and that's what he advertised, he would duck like Bo and me and my brother. Well, I sparred with this guy. One of the last time I ever trained with him was an MMA practice. They had begged me to do MMA practices again. I go, okay, fine, I'll do MMA practices again. But if you motherfuckers don't show up for 5 days,
I remember this,
the team is canceled. And so then when they had a really good fight night and they decided to take a week off and came back, I go, this is holes to fill. I got a business to run. You guys aren't here. It's my time. I'm not fucking around with you anymore. The last practice we had was a boxing only practice where I saw a Mayweather fight, and I was like, you know what? I haven't done pure boxing in a while, so I'm going to train with the MMA team and no kicks, just hands. I throw on the boxing gloves, and I haven't done this for a while. I don't spar seriously anymore, but I'm like, hey, let's see what I got. Let's see what the old man still got. I spar with this guy who I'm talking about, who's a boxer. And we usually don't talk about what happens in the gym, but since I'm not saying this guy's name, I'll just say it. I whooped this dude's fucking ass. He didn't touch me. He didn't punch me, and I think in the last 10 years he's hit me like twice. No big deal. It doesn't surprise me. I train with some of the best people in the gym, and he trains with one or two people that he can beat up. No big deal. Hey, man, I need to spar with you more. That was really good. Okay. I hope so, but I don't expect anything. I then go straight from this practice over to kickboxing, and I'm teaching people a button hook, a check hook. I'm teaching something that my brother knocked out Rafael Sunsao with, cold. I'm teaching something that I just landed on this guy 2 to 3 times in our sparring match when I was whooping his ass. I get a report after I leave that this individual marched right over the person, was listening, you know how he does, listening and going in the corner. As soon as I walk out and I go down, I go to the shitty house I live in down the street so that I can be by the gym. He walks over to this person and goes, hey, you don't want to throw a hook like that. That's never going to land. I used to go, okay, he's my teammate. How can I have this conversation with him? And now I'm just like, get the fuck out of here. You're cancer.
Business, what I've learned, I always refer to this documentary I saw about Donald Trump. I'm going to tread lightly here because it's politics, but
fuck them.
So Donald did this special with Barbara Walters, and he was really sweet. He was nice. He wasn't Donald Trump that we see now, right? And I think I'm like, what changed in all this time where he acts the way he does and how brazy he is and how cold he is? I kind of get it now. Maybe not to that scale. We're a small business, right? But that dude's probably. Can you imagine everybody had his hand in the cookie jar?
It makes you cold.
It really does. And
does.
It's like, look at Jasmine, the nicest and sweetest person that you'll meet. Never wants to see you fail. Some of her best friends have turned their back on him. And I'm not sitting here saying, well, let's play the victim. People are fucking shitty. They really are. And I've learned what people really are because I'm a big cheerleader for people. You know that. I want to see the good in everybody. But, man, I tell you, it just blows my mind. Seeing what they've done to her, see what they've done to us. It just really, really blows my mind. A lot of victims. People play a lot of victim out there.
When you're confident, you want to see people win.
Why would you not want to see people
win? Because you're miserable. Because you're not winning. Because you don't feel like you're winning. So what I think this comes down to is you have people that have kind of turned our back on us, at least from our perspective in the gym. They want you to do well.
Yep.
If it benefits them.
Absolutely.
But the minute that you do well, or you start to attain a level of success that they envy, and they feel like they're not getting a reciprocating benefit from it, that's when the real truth comes out. The people in hard drive now are such that when you get striped or belted, they're genuinely happy.
Yeah.
There are people that
look at Nick's face. He was like,
right.
I never see emotion out of this guy, and he got promoted.
But you know what? The place that we were at before, Nick's got a really trashed knee, like full of scar tissue, so he can't compete on the highest level of competitiveness like some martial artists can and love to do, like roll.
Yeah.
The hard drive that was the fighter hard drive, there were a couple of those people in there that instead of going, man, Nick works his ass off. He's drilled with Keoni for hundreds of hours. He understands the sport. He can teach people what Keoni teaches. They go, he's not even rolling.
Yeah.
That's the ego and the bullshit that we've had to deal with in the past. But what business will do is it will bring in, it will show you some of the lowest.
Yeah.
It will show you people that act a certain way to get whatever it is that you can give them. These are the ones that want favors.
Yeah.
Right. But then when it comes time to do you a favor, they're nowhere to be found. And if they feel like you are getting something, like a lot of people felt like I didn't deserve to be the owner and head coach of Hard Drive, which is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Because all of the people that thought that started training like 10 years after I did. Like I was the first guy.
Well, it's funny that you would say that, because literally, if I think about everybody who have I always had in my corner when I fought?
Me and Dave.
There it is. And Bo.
Yeah. The most experienced guys.
The most experienced guys, the most people I respect, the leaders of the team.
Right.
I look at even Bo doesn't train here much anymore. I look at Bo as like he's a go-to guy.
An elder.
Exactly.
He's an elder.
And he's one of my best friends. Like we have a great group. But still, if I was going to compete again, you, Bo, Dave. Yeah. That's who I have in my corner.
Well, and if I had at the time that I started doing this, some sensei who was a jiu-jitsu black belt or a Muay Thai champion or even a mixed martial artist that was accessible to me at that time, they would be my coach.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't question them. And even 5-10 fights down the road, if they had a little bit of advice that I didn't agree with, I'd still listen, because that's my job as a student, to think and to consider. That's not everything that we dealt with. What we dealt with, people getting to 5 or 10 fights and then finding out that they weren't really trying to be our good friends. They were trying to get something from us. And when they found out that it was gone, they were gone too.
Yeah. We've lost a lot of people over the years.
We have. And the funny thing about Hard Drive is I love Hard Drive. The people now don't know anything about what we went through, which is kind of sad. They know bits and pieces because they hear us talking about Valhalla's locker rooms and stuff like that. But they don't know, and the people that trained back then, they don't know any of the people now, and some of them may or may not give credit to the people that we have in now, and we have some incredibly talented people on this team.
Oh, yeah.
But all that being said, I really, really enjoy the atmosphere that we have. And we've created. And the only reason we've been able to create that is because as business owners, we could identify these people that were going to undermine our business. And we had to
pump brakes.
We had to get them out.
What I think is really cool, I think the coolest part about this place is, right, I talked about what we've done to be able to save people's lives and train with law enforcement and, all that good stuff. What I think is really cool is seeing guys like Lonnie have a job.
Yeah.
Eric have a job. You have a job. And it's like,
to do what you love and to get paid for it.
The old school, as you call OGs, right?
That's what we talked about.
That's what we talked about back in the day. Right. And I remember that before I even came aboard 7-8 years ago. That's what we talked about. And we've given these guys opportunities and futures where they're on payroll. They're getting paid a good salary to do what they love to do.
That's the dream.
Yeah. It is the dream. Now look at it.
I think some people lost faith. I think along the way, it took a lot of time and work because
sometimes we lost the faith.
We were grassroots, and there was times that I wanted to quit, but I think what happened was a couple people on the team started getting in each other's ear, questioning how I was running things, and making assumptions. I can tell you this right now: there are 3 or 4 people that used to be members of this team, that never believed for a second that this would ever happen.
Dude, I remember getting attacked
because you because they had a problem with you. I remember what they used to say, but it was like
they could never tell you.
I was shiesty, not shiesty. Is it shiesty? Not shiesty, but it was like all I cared about is money. I'm like, in a sense, yeah, we have a business. Like this doesn't. If I don't hustle and we don't build programs, this place doesn't survive.
But that's not even how we're not that great of business owners.
No, I think we've gotten way better. I think we're pretty good now.
We have,
yeah.
But we were not.
Fuck no.
Running the business the way they want. What was happening was these people who had nothing better to do, because they weren't working and doing shit, but staring and looking at our class numbers were going. People that have never run a business, were going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times this much.
Yeah,
he's rich.
Yeah, he's rich. But what they forget about is taxes,
insurance, lease, utilities.
Oh yeah,
equipment.
Absolutely.
But
adds all.
But the same person that was questioning how much money I was getting paid and trying to get in the ear of other people saying that I was filthy rich, which I think has been proven by the fact that I have not bought a new vehicle. I'm still driving the beater. They were making all of these assumptions. This guy that was making these assumptions, he was coming in at midnight. He had a key. He didn't pay anything. He never paid anything to train. He trained for free because he was a Bellator or whatever fighter. He would come in and train at like midnight when nobody was there with 2 or 3 people, leave the lights on, and then roll out. And then the next day talk to somebody about how I'm capitalizing off all their hard work. This is the same guy that told me he never wanted me to mention his name in hard drive ever again. Yeah. And I said, well, you can mention my name whenever you want.
Yeah. I never understood. I tell you this. This is going back to, I've said this in this podcast. How in the fuck? Okay. This literally is communication. We've had our bits, we've had our fights, we've had our gripes at each other. It's 2 men getting together and hashing it out.
Yeah, and you know what? All the people that I have never been able to hash it out with
left.
They left, or they got pushed out forcefully. Yeah, they could have never argued with me, and they know it. Yeah, and that's part of the reason that a lot of people don't like me. Is I'll sit down and I'll argue with you.
Yeah. Especially if you feel like you're right.
Right. Yeah. And if you're one of these guys that's all excited about your alpha male status, I'll tell you exactly how you're full of shit. And a lot of people, the realist people out there, the people that are still around, they love that. Yeah. They don't love it right away. No. It stings right away. But they're like, you know what though? Keoni said some shit that wasn't comfortable, which means he gives a fuck about me. Otherwise he wouldn't waste his time. They're weak. Yeah. And they'll look at me, and because they want maybe something that I was willing to work for, they want to spend their time not helping me help them and doing a communal thing, but talking to other people about how I'm not going to do it for them. Well, look at them now. Like, I'm not going to try and rub shit in their face, but one thing that's really frustrating to me about business with Hard Drive is this. I trained at Hard Drive. Was that my original team name?
Oh, it was Hybrid Faction, wasn't it?
Well, before that, it was Team Pain.
I didn't even know that.
Well, somebody thought that up. That wasn't my name, but my name was on the T-shirt, and I still have it. Team Pain.
Team Pain, huh?
Team Pain. So cheesy.
If that don't say meathead, I don't know what
it does. And it was silly, but we were young and stupid. So then it was Hybrid Faction Combat Club.
Yeah, what the hell does that even mean?
Well, it's a hybrid faction group of people, and it's a combat club, so it's probably a little more wordy, but you know me, I like to go over the top, a little eccentric. But I drew up a logo and everything. It was pretty cool, actually. We still got the shirts.
I remember
in storage.
What the logo
yeah. Looked like the bottom of a bullet. Yeah. So I had my club, and Dave was training. He was working first shift and then training in the afternoon. I was working second shift, and we were training like 9 o'clock at night. So we didn't get together very often and train, but we did from time to time, like, oh, it's a weekend, I'm going to go over Dave's work in the garage or whatever. So I put my team together. I had my 5 guys, the original 5. And we were fucking machines. Like, we were gangster.
All day, all night.
The hardest training sessions I've ever had was not in Valhalla. Yeah. It was in that basement with those 4 guys. Yep. And they were the best, most concentrated pool of people when we were in the heyday that I've ever trained with. So Dave and I hadn't trained together very much, but we had kind of agreed. Dave's a master motivator, and he'll pull things out of you that other people won't.
I refer to Dave as, God, he reminds me of Dan Gable.
Yeah, he's a driver.
He really is.
I'm a strategist and a technical artist, and so together we worked well together. And Dave would go, "Hey, coach, show us this leg lock." I'd do it, and then he'd fucking kill us. But with Dave, he was training with Grubb, and he had a couple people going to his garage or his basement, but we hadn't trained for a long time, and I don't think he realized the level that we were playing at now. So I sent Jesse over to him. Jesse's like, I need more cross training. He had weird hours. Who should I go to? Dave, right across town. So he goes and trains over there, and him and Tom become very good friends and are similar, builds. And so Dave's like, hey, I want to bring John Strawn over and train with you guys some night, late night. We won't train during the day. Well, come over. Come over. And they kind of get handed a little bit. Yeah. Like there's this new talent that's 16 or 17 years old that's submitting a pro fighter over and over and over, kicking people in the head.
Was that Bo that he kicked in the head?
Eric kicked everybody in the head at some point in time.
I think Bo talks about it. I think Bo talks about that.
Yeah, that was the first night he was in, is Eric walloped him. And but it wasn't just Eric. At that point now, everybody was good. Dave kind of was like, whoa, I had no idea that you had this group of guys and that they were all this talented. He thought that Jesse was like an anomaly because Jesse's a freak.
Yeah, he is.
But then he came over and found out that this little pool was really, really deep. And he goes, Coach, something that's still true to this day. Yeah. Iowa's not big enough. Cedar Rapids isn't big enough for us to have two teams. We need to be working together if we want to represent our sport and our state. Okay, let's make it happen. Yeah. There was no thought at all. No. And when even the idea, the very next thing that popped into our head is, what about name? I went, okay, well, look, this guy's older. He's been doing martial arts longer than me, technically.
It's your respect level,
He's got Team Hard Drive. He's been running this for a while. John's fought under this moniker. I love this dude. I've trained with him. Team Hard Drive.
If you don't know what that means, the harder you work, the more I'll drive you. Right? That's what the theory behind it was.
What he did, Dave, as I understand it, and this was something John told me, Dave liked Harley Davidsons. Yeah. He liked the bikes. And he used to have one back in the day. But Hard Drive really is based on the work ethic of John Strawn. Yeah. John Strawn had...
What a pioneer.
A motor. I've never seen a motor.
Unbelievable.
Like anybody.
He's like a Clay Guida.
They are very similar.
They fought each other.
They actually did fight each other, but John would just go and go and go. And John wasn't, he would admittedly tell you he's not the most technical person, but his tenacity and ferocity, he just overwhelmed people. Yeah. He just break people's will.
He wasn't the most skilled, if I could say that.
And that's why he'd fuck people up.
Man, because they'd go all over. You couldn't breathe. I remember going against him. I couldn't breathe.
He's like a caveman. Right?
Yeah, he is.
So that was where Hard Drive really came from. Was Dave going, hey, look, guys, we're outclassed. Yeah. We don't have a black belt. We don't have a Gracie. We don't have boxing coaches. We have each other, and we can work harder. Yep. They're going to be more technical than we are in some situations, but we can outwork everybody.
Dude, that's why I say it's Dan Gable. Dan Gable just talked about that on Joe Rogan's podcast. He would... That's why I was so good. What they figured out at young coaching Dan Gable figured out at a young age was he would make sure they outworked you, because if you don't know Dan Gable, who he is, you need to look him up. But his work ethic was
you can go to hell if you don't know Dan Gable.
You get really, I might flip this table if you don't know who Dan Gable is. But his work ethic, unbelievable. Yeah. And legendary. He brought that into, as a wrestler, he brought that in as a coach. And he was, great. He was technical, and he was great. But his work ethic and the way he thought, I talked to guys like Mark Ironside, and Mark would just talk about the stadium runs that they'd have at Carver and stuff like that. But that's what Dave reminded me of. He just had that.
He'd pull it out of you.
God, it was like that dad you never wanted to disappoint. Hell, I don't want to do it now. Yeah. And we're both old men.
It's Dave's spirit, right? Because he does believe in you. He knows what you can do. And he knows that all of your improvement is on the other side of your horror about this situation. So he just pushes you further. And then right when you think it's over, he'll remind you it's not over. No. And you're not even close, so don't even think about it anymore.
So good at bringing it up. I remember when I was fighting, I think it was the one out in Colonel's. No, yeah, well, I don't know. It was one of them. And I've been through some shit in my life. And I remember because my job, I started a new job. I couldn't make Hell Week. Remember Hell Week? Yeah. And it was Derek Mayman, World Series of runner. Yeah, fighter. But he was up for a world title or whatever you want to call it, whatever title World Series had. Steve Carl, who was the World Series
I
champion.
don't know if he was at the time, but he was.
No, not. I'm just saying these are the quality guys.
At that
Ken
level.
McCullen, who,
Yeah.
fuck, dude, that guy was so big, so strong and tough, and Austin Akers did what he did, and I remember being put through hell between you and Dave, dude. I didn't even get mentally broken more. That mentally broke me. I crawled off. I know I sound like a big puss when I say this, but I crawled off. Remember, I was bawling, and just mentally exhausted, and
You're nothing left.
nothing. Yeah. I mean,
All you can do is cry.
felt like I was fucking close to death.
Yeah.
And but
fun.
you guys, it is. But you guys brought that out. That's what Dave did. He just had that mentality. And shit, if you talk to him now, he's so energetic. You feel like you want to go for a fucking 5-mile run. If I do that now,
And then when you
call
get
an
into
ambulance.
a fight, it's like, this isn't a big deal.
That's what I was getting at. And it, what he was doing, what I didn't understand at the time, he was the fight was the easy. I remember saying that in one of my interviews when I got interviewed. It was when I have these type of guys in the gym, the fight's the easy part.
Yeah. 15 minutes with
you
one
better
guy.
be a bad motherfucker if you're gonna beat me.
And you'll earn my respect if you can.
If you beat me, I've been on the losing end one time.
But I'm not a believer yet.
No, but the guys we trained with, dude, when I tell you I was scared to come to practice. Like, fuck, I don't want to go through this. But we got good.
Yeah.
You fought at the highest
When
level.
you know you get through something like that,
Yeah.
you look at a man a different way.
Yeah.
You're like, you're not four men. You're
Yeah.
just a man.
Yeah.
And you've got fists and bones and power, but like, you're not gonna. It's gonna take a hell of a man or individual.
Yeah.
To beat me up.
Yeah.
That's how prepared I am. That's why confidence comes from preparedness. Leave no stone unturned in your
So let
training.
me ask you this question. I've always wanted to ask you this question. This is all the questions I've been thinking about. I think I know who you're going to say, but who is the best fighter that you have ever been around inside hard drive?
In what respect? Like just raw natural.
Like you
fighting
could say
ability?
Eric is the most decorated fighter out of here. That's not even, nobody can argue that, right? Mm-hmm. He's had the most 10-year career. He's had the best career. He's a fucking great fighter. But who would you say was the most rawest talent individual? You women, guy, it don't matter. Who you've seen come out of hard drive. It don't have to be your brother. I mean, he's had the most accolades. We all know that. Mm-hmm. Who would you say? Just out of curiosity.
So you're just talking raw physical talent.
Raw physical talent. Now, maybe he didn't live up to his potential.
Not
but
mentality or anything like
Yeah.
that. Jordan Sanford.
I agree.
Yeah.
What a fucking gem, dude.
Yeah.
When a guy walks in and he's going toe to toe with me and Tom Grubb.
Maybe T-Dog too.
Who's Tito?
Teronald Harris.
Oh yeah, state champion wrestler from Jefferson.
Yep.
Yeah, he
didn't
was
train for half a year, still won a state title.
He half a year. He had like 13 matches.
There are so many people, and this isn't a specific knock on either of these two gentlemen, but there are some specific people that have, and we've seen countless times, all of these gifts.
Yeah.
These, like, why didn't I get that when I was starting in martial arts? Like, Jordan, when I talked to Jordan, I was like, Jordan, where'd you box? Your hands look really good. And he's like, oh, I just played UFC.
That's what he
Unleashed,
told me.
coach."
I thought he
was
was being punked.
I was like, no, seriously, Jordan. He's like, no, I seriously, like, I've been in some scraps before, but that's it. And
Dude,
I'm just like,
he was so good.
I walked up the stairs and I went to you.
Yeah.
And I went, that guy could be a world champion. And
But
we could be looking at him right now. But
you were right.
Here's the issue.
Yeah.
This person with all this raw natural talent that we're talking about, was, what did I say? He's his own biggest enemy.
Yeah.
Yes, I see this raw talent, but I also see a likelihood in this young man to go down a path where it's squandered. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that. That's why when people talk to me about talent, I don't want to hear about talent.
Yeah.
Talent doesn't mean shit to me.
Yeah.
I've heard more about talent wasted than talent taken advantage of.
Yeah.
So what I really have heard more of winning is hard work.
Yeah.
So if you're talented in an area, cross your lucky stars, because someday you're going to fight somebody who's talented and that motherfucker's going to work.
It happened.
And if you don't work, you're going to get your ass
When we
kicked.
fought for RFA.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That was a hard thing too. I always think back. I don't like living in the past. Sometimes I do, but I always think about where would I be at right now if I just said, I chose my family is what I chose. Because we were in the gym all the fucking time, and I chose my family.
At that time, you were kind of set.
Yeah, I was set. I won the Iowa belt or whatever it was, and then I fought for on the TV RFA.
Proved what you needed to prove.
Proved what it proved.
Yep.
Where would I be at if I didn't?
Who knows?
Yeah,
but
I got good at the end. I was getting there.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda,
yeah.
maybe. But
Yeah.
you could also be miserable. You could also
Absolutely
gotten.
miserable.
You could have also given up huge amounts of financial opportunity for a very limited reward, and then got hurt really bad and not been able to fucking
That competitor in me always wonders. Same with you. I've always wondered with you. You were extremely.
I could have been.
Oh my God, Keoni, you're so talented.
I could have been. Listen, I know this.
Yeah.
I know that I could have been a world title contender.
Absolutely.
And champion.
Not even a question.
I just didn't like competing.
Yeah.
I take that back. Competing was actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
The training and the competition, the person that I was.
Yeah.
The person that I behaved, the temperament that I had, the anger that I had, the darkness that I kind of went to manifest the wolf, so to speak. Just didn't enjoy being there.
Yeah.
You know, and I used to go, you're just a pussy, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm mature enough to admit that this is not my shit.
Yeah.
I don't want the world championship. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Right. But
you fought the guy that fought for the world champion, and arguably you beat him.
Regardless.
Yeah.
If we've talked about that fight in my last fight, if I would have won that fight,
your life would be different right now.
It'd be different, and I would have chased the UFC. And there's a very, very good chance that you and I would not be having this conversation now. Because if I know what it takes to compete in the UFC, I've seen people doing it. I've seen world champions made. I know what it takes, and what it takes is 100%.
Yeah.
It takes 2 to 3 workouts a day or active recovery. It takes committing a lifestyle to it. The lifestyle that I wanted to commit to is the very one that I'm living right now.
Yeah.
This is my dream that I'm in.
Yep.
So for Max Holloway, it's being the greatest of all time. For these guys at the upper echelon, it's not about running a business. It's not about teaching kids, at least not when their fight career's going on. It's about one belt.
Yep.
And in getting broken orbitals, and breaking their hands, and going through all this, and getting who knows what CTE. We will find that out in coming years.
Yep.
I like to think that when all this is said and done, I'm going to be perfectly happy with precisely where I put myself. And it's interesting to go, oh man, well, if the decision would have went 1 point my way, I'd be in the UFC, and maybe I'd be the one fighting for the title. And I'd be the one fighting for the title that really didn't want it.
Yeah.
So would I win? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know?
I think
gotta want it, gotta believe it.
It is, and I think obviously it's kind of funny how life takes you, and God's got a plan for you, and I think that's kind of what or whatever your
Don't
life.
press your religion on me.
whatever you believe has got a plan, but
so much of it's choices, though, right?
Yeah.
Like if you believe in God, or if you just have faith, you know that you're given opportunities, but you're not given handouts.
Yeah.
You still have to.
You don't deserve shit. You earn what you get.
And you still have to make choices.
Yeah.
And generally, people know what's right and wrong.
Yep.
And you know, when you make bad choices, you have to atone for them. I've made all kinds of bad choices, but one thing that I have done with the gym for the last 20 years is tried to honor the idea that me and my team originally had.
Core values.
Someday,
Yep.
our kids are going to be on these mats.
Yeah.
And we're going to be done and just smiling at this life that we built.
Yeah.
And back then, this was a fairy tale dream, but it was like we were going to start working towards it. Now we're here, and I don't regret a single bit of it. But what I will say is this: the entire time I was trying to honor my team.
Yeah.
And I feel like now in this place, I've been honored by a few of them.
Yeah.
You, Bo, my brother, some of the very hardcore, Lonnie. They're still around.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people that I talk to about this vision, about wanting this and like having these hopes and dreams, they talked about wanting the same thing and wanting me to get those things, and they're not here. And they're not here to enjoy it. So it's difficult for me because the whole time I'm like trying to honor the symbol that we all have tattooed on us and that has so much reverence and meaning in our lives. But I don't feel the same amount of commitment and backing has been given to me by some of those people who turned their back. And that's really what business taught me is this isn't a hobby.
Yeah.
And when you start a business and you own a business, there are people who are going to hate your guts.
Yeah.
And it does not matter how nice you are. It doesn't matter how professional you are. It doesn't matter how reasonable and how communicative you are. There will be people that envy you or dislike you for seemingly no reason. And it's when they say it's not personal, that's what they mean. Like I know a lot of business people now because I've been in business that when somebody gets all huffy puffy and mad, they don't even blink because tomorrow's tomorrow. And there's always going to be some critic out there. Yeah. And usually those critics, usually the naysayers, the haters, the kind of toxic people we've had in the gym, they want to see you fail because they know that they could never do what you do. Yeah. And so when you're on top in this position that they don't think you deserve, or they're upset about the position that they're in that they don't think they deserve, they project all this hate on you. And I know what that hate is. I know they don't hate me. It's either envy or jealousy or self-loathing about themselves. Because I'll tell you what, if you won the lottery and you were like, Keoni, I'm moving to Florida. This is my dream. I'm happy. I'm going to be with my kids. I'd be like, well, fuck, help me figure out this gym thing first. But I'm happy for you. Like, this is success. Like, if you're my friend, if you're somebody that I want to see grow, even if it sucks a little for me, I am truly happy for you.
And that's how it should be.
It's how it should be. But what business will teach you is that's not how everybody is. The laws of human nature dictate that people at times of weakness can be very shitty.
My sister said this the other day. I was talking to her, and she said, because I've struggled with people, like, I just didn't understand. I just, because I'm not a hateful person. I'm not a, if you know anything about me, I'm probably the most caring people, and I truly want to see people win. Like, I am so thrilled when one of our athletes
wins.
Oh, Jesus, how many times did I call your wife about this damn track shit?
Because 7.
Because our lead athletes are winning and they're having fun, and I truly like seeing people succeed. I like seeing people. Everybody's biggest cheerleader. What I say to people is fuck them. If they don't want to be a part of that, then that's why I appreciate our tight circle that we have.
Yeah. That's what business will do, right? It'll make your circle
so small and
tight.
What's crazy to see is what a lot of people don't know is the basement. It started in a basement, and now
a basement like this. Room.
Yeah. But then now we have a 10,000 square foot facility. Great family atmosphere. Across the street, we got another 10,000 square foot facility, and that's even now we're catapulting into like strength and conditioning, and so we have the complete package and football and track and all these athletes coming over. Now they don't even know what that HD symbol means, but how great is that?
It doesn't matter.
Isn't that cool? Did you ever just sit back and just take a look at it?
I do it every day. I do it every day, and whenever somebody comes in here. Whenever somebody makes an excuse or whenever somebody comes and asks me what motivates me, it's going, you see all this, this isn't college. This isn't me getting a bunch of money inherited from my parents. Exactly the opposite. This is hard work. But really, if you boil it down, it's an idea.
You're self-made.
Yeah. I'm self-made.
We both are.
Now there are going to be some snowflakey people out there that go, it takes a village. And it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
But villages don't work in a concentrated direction for 20 years. That's what I did. And I absolutely had the help of many people. But this absolutely would not be here without me. And I used to not say that. But now I'm just saying it because I'm fucking tired of dealing with some of this bullshit. But I do that all the time. I do it every day. I go, okay, so I have now kids I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm never going to know.
Yeah.
That are training under the across the street under the HD banner that are now excelling at track, or volleyball, or swimming, or equestrian, or all kinds of shit, right? Yeah. They'll never know about the time Devin sliced his heel open on an open metal outlet in my basement. Yeah. They'll never know about the time that Bo shot in a takedown on Eric and put Eric's ass literally through the drywall into the other room. They don't have to know. Yeah. The passion of those guys, of those original founding
fathers,
fathers,
sweat, and tears, man,
has now manifested into a huge martial arts studio that, again, if, like you said, if we close this tomorrow, thousands of people throughout the last 20 years have been positively affected by the experience of what Hard Drive is and was. We have all these athletes across the street getting, offers to colleges because of their athletic work. That athletic work done by Courtney and Blake and the coaches over there doesn't have anything to do with those 5 guys. Doesn't need to. Yeah. It's what it is, what I liken it to is back then I had an idea in my mind.
Yep.
And that idea was a pebble.
Yep.
And I rolled that pebble through the snow.
Yeah.
And now it's just snowballed.
Yep.
It's bigger than any of us. It's
Yep.
bigger than you. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than anyone. And it's humbling because that's an impact on the world. If we stopped right now, we would have impacted the world. Now it's how.
Think how many people we employ in this great city.
Well, compared to some of the big ones, but it's cool to say, hey, you are a passionate martial artist, right? Yeah. Do you want to make money just doing what you love to do? Because that's what I wanted to do for a long time, and it took a fucking long time to do it. So to just be able to we gave out opportunities to somebody recently that kind of like threw it back in our face. That happens from time to time. You learn those things in business. But to see where it is now and to see who it's affecting and to wonder, when things get really down, this is what I think. Somebody has the Hard Drive logo on their grave. Yeah. That means a lot.
Oh yeah.
When somebody's family said Hard Drive means so much to us, our family, and the departed, that we're going to immortalize it on their gravestone.
Yeah. That's Seth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really, really big deal.
Yeah.
So we've impacted ways, but the beauty and the awesome thing about this is when somebody comes to me and they have an excuse, I just look at them and go, come on, man.
Yeah.
You can't pull that shit on me.
Yeah.
I've had the 401ks and the IRAs and the jobs and the stress and all on the line and living in poverty.
Yeah.
Because I believed in something and it came to be.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes to me and says I can't or it won't ever happen, I go, okay, well then it won't.
Yeah.
You've made your choice. I made my choice a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it was hell. I almost quit over and over and over and over. But
I'm pretty sure we quit like once a month.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
But I kept telling myself, outlast him.
Yep.
But what would Gable do?
Oh yeah.
He'd keep working.
Absolutely.
He would suck it up. He'd quit being a little bitch and he'd do it and quit having this little sad sack, pity party for yourself and just do the work. Because someday you're going to be so good and so experienced, there's nobody left to compete with you.
Yeah.
That's where we're at now.
Yeah.
There's nobody in town that can compete with us. There's nobody that has the experience level. That's a testament, and I can say humbly, to the idea that I had and the work that I did, but also the collective.
Yeah.
If I didn't have the Bows, the Hughes, the Damians, the Erics, these people here, we would just be a regular school with some quasi-experienced coaches and a subpar program. If the awesome thing about Hard Drive is if we can keep this thing going for 5 years and just keep people getting along.
Yeah.
If we can manage that, first of all, we're a master of what we do.
No shit.
But we could have one of the best teams on the planet Earth.
Yeah.
We really could.
We're starting to get, what you're starting to see now is we're getting great athletes coming to train with us now, and which I think is really good.
They're seeking us out.
And
now.
It's like having Biggie's been a great addition.
Yeah.
He's intelligent. He's smart. He's hardworking. Eric, I tell you what, you want to talk about a coach. He is just, he's enthusiastic. God, those guys, people love him. He's a really, really, really good coach.
Well, let's look at the products.
Oh my God.
Look at the Alex. Look at Sam, a kid that comes in, loses his first fight, toughs it out, comes back, boom,
beautiful head kick knockout.
There are all kinds of people on that team whose talent is just dripping out of them.
Yeah.
The jiu-jitsu team, the kickboxing team, Lonnie told me when he came to my basement, this was before we went to Valhalla during where I was back in town and I had my green basement in my parents' house. I go, okay, well, what are your goals? So, well, I want to get better on the ground. I have Taekwondo, but I know you guys are better on the ground, and I need that. Okay, cool. What's your ultimate goal, though? Well, I want to honor my Taekwondo instructor, Master Sayaso, and I want to open up my own dojo someday and teach myself, and that's why I'm getting into MMA. Well, who would have thought? Lonnie stuck around.
How many years ago was that?
Oh, shit. Dude,
15?
No, but like it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was right before we moved to Valhalla.
Yeah.
Which I want to say 2007 or something. A long time. But that's what he wanted to do. And he fought and he had some big wars and he beat some people that were high-level competitors, right?
Yeah.
And we had conversations about being intelligent fighters and recognizing and respecting our age. And I said, everybody in the gym should have a guy or a girl that says, hey, it's time.
Yeah.
You're done.
Mm-hmm.
And when they say it, You have to listen. It
Yep.
doesn't matter what the competitor in you says. You have to
Your ego
entrust
play
that
a
to
long
one
ways on
person,
it.
right? And so he fought, and I questioned it, and I talked to him about it, but he said he still had one left. And then on his last fight, he won by triangle.
Yeah.
He had never won by submission in his life, and he won by triangle, and he tried for it.
Was that
he
John
went for it.
Kennedy?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I know that he won by triangle, and he got up and he celebrated, and he had a couple tough losses before that, and he had a lot of great wins. But he won, and like the fact that he won by submission to me said, you have evolved as a martial artist. Yeah. There's no need for you to keep chasing this thing down and beating yourself up at your age. And I told him, and that was it.
Now he's an amazing kickboxer. Taekwondo.
And he's got this program that he's worked diligently for. And again, like, where would we be without guys like him? I think back to the team we used to have, and I go, man, if you guys could have stayed around and been positive, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
But what the people did that are still here is they believed. They had faith in me. They felt like together we could accomplish this. When people lost faith, they had no reason. They felt like they were going to get no benefit from it. It was easy to turn on me or turn on other people. But, you adopted half of this business and started taking the work on and immediately started catching heat.
Yeah.
You went from everybody's buddy to, why is this, to a filter for bullshit. And every business owner deals with that.
Yeah.
But it is tough. And when people, I post pictures on Instagram of these amazing places that my wife plans to Costa Rica. And there are people out there, I know there are, that are looking at this going, man, must be nice. Yeah. He's capitalizing from the work we did back in the day. Never knowing that I don't pay a red cent for these vacations, that Kojo saves for 6 months for them. Yeah. But they make these assumptions. Look at them, they're going on vacation. And I get it, because at one point I might have done the same thing. Yeah. But what is perception? Perception is they're living the good life in Costa Rica on the company's dime. Yeah. What is reality? I didn't spend a dime of the company's money, and I clean shitters 3 times a week. That's the fucking reality.
That's what the thing was. Is when I took over, is like they had no how in the fuck were you living? I gotta ask you that, because I
almost died,
dude. I'm telling you, like, literally, I know what you were bringing in when you want me to share it or no? Should I not share it?
Shit, whatever. I don't care.
You're $1,800. Was it $1,800? That's what you were netting.
Yeah.
And then take out all the utilities and bills and all that stuff. I remember talking to Jasmine. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I just got myself into. Like,
what I did was I worked for other people.
Yeah.
I went to work at a job.
Yeah.
So that I didn't have to take money from the gym. Yeah. So that I could pay gym bills. So you can imagine how disheartening it was to get here, and then to have people claiming that I had a gold stash somewhere at my fucking house.
That's fucking nuts.
It really, like.
And I remember talking to a certain person. I can say names. I think everything's kosher with him now, but I remember saying, like, bro, I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to lie to you. There's one thing you won't catch me fucking doing is lying. And I said, I don't know how the fuck he was living. So that guy is telling the truth.
Week to week. I was week to week, and I wasn't sleeping. And that's why I get so upset about it. That's why I was like, I had, there's pictures of me when we went into that property on Oakland, not the Chatham building, but the one that I put all that money to and then got fucked in court over.
Yeah.
I got pictures of the kids, Ronan as a toddler,
yeah,
laying on a concrete floor with dark drywall dust all around him.
Yep.
And he's watching a movie on my shit while I work at 3 o'clock.
We're all there. They blame me over there. There's like they grew up. Yeah. They've all grown up in That's why they respect the shit out of this gym. I don't want to keep you all night, but yeah, they're it's been. This has been some people just never know. They'll just never know what the hell you've gone through and what that HD logo means, and that's why I've always been what I've been and how loyal I've been to the place. Been through a lot of shit.
Yeah, more than people will ever know, and that's the thing. When people get upset or people flame me now or whatever the case may be, I used to get really upset about it and go, "You don't have any idea." Yeah. Now I just go, "You don't have any idea."
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah,
that's the way.
I'm not going to sit here and justify it to you, because you'll never understand my perspective. You think I'm living like a movie star or rock star, and I can't stress this enough. I'm literally scraping shit out of the inside of a toilet in a public bathroom, because that's what business owners sometimes have to do.
And I think any business owner will tell you that, like the rich are the rich, the poor are the poor. I think of a guy named like Dan Bernanke, who has Dan's Overhead Door. Mm-hmm. I remember his daughter was
best friends with my daughter or my wife in high school, and I'm really good friends with her husband Brad. I remember that story of that. They didn't have shit, and what he's evolved to. That is family-owned business. Yeah. It's just amazing to watch because it grows and grows. Where the fuck are we going to be at 10 years, 15 years? Who knows? Shit, it might be one of our kids that will run this gym one day.
Right.
And then they're going to make us look stupid because we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Well, in a time when people don't think that there's any opportunity in the world, I like to remind people of this. This was a very difficult journey for me, respectively.
Yeah.
I had to put all this money, all this time, all these sleepless nights into this for decades. Most people just, they won't do it that long. I totally get why people go into business and then 7 years in are like, fuck this, I'm out. Because it's exhausting. We have family friends that have known us for a long time, named the Hosseinis. They're from Iran.
Yeah.
In the 80s, they're Baha'is. They were kind of keeping this under wraps. Well, somebody found out about it. And at the time, the Ayatollah Khomeini was in power there. And they were not tolerant of other religions at all in Iran. So Baha'is specifically were being targeted and killed and hung in the streets in Tehran and stuff. Well, Rahola, the father, has a friend come over that's in the military, and he's like, hey, they are coming here tomorrow morning. You guys, you need to go. And wherever you go, don't come back.
Yeah.
Because they're going to kill you for being Baha'is. Rahola packs up all his shit, packs up his kids. He's got 2 or 3 kids at the time and his wife, everything that they can carry, and they head to the mountains in Iran. And they get to the border in the middle of the night, and they seek political asylum from religious persecution. They get it. They come to America. They have $0. They have a small amount of public funding or public support. Now the son owns multiple laundromats, multiple businesses. They achieved just wealth. And when they came to America, they went, what? It's this easy?
Yeah.
I'll be wealthy. I know it for a fact.
Yeah.
Because they came from a place where that opportunity didn't exist.
Yeah.
So when they came to America, they recognized it. And as much as I shit on the American political spectrum, I still must recognize that in this country, I'm walking proof of it. If you have an idea and you work hard and you're passionate and you're positive, you manifest your destiny. This is a dream. It was an idea. An electrical impulse in my brain that I worked towards, focused, and it became a reality. So a lot of people are entitled. They're privileged. They're a little spoiled in today's generation. They want instant gratification. The idea of working for 20 years for something isn't attractive. For me, I look at it like this. I worked 20 years of my life. I establish a legacy, and that legacy lives forever. Yeah. If I work for somebody else for 20 years of my life, I take whatever legacy I could work towards and just kind of daily throw it away, throw it away, throw it away. I would rather be remembered after I'm dead than seen while I'm alive. Yeah. So the idea of sitting in an office was like, I felt like cattle. Yeah. I felt like I wasn't honoring myself. I wasn't being genuine with myself. And I accepted a long time ago that the road was going to be rough and I was going to be living in shitty houses from time to time or for a while. Yeah. But someday we would get to where we are now. And despite all of the bullshit that we've went through and all of the people we feel like we've been sold out or that have slandered us, just unbelievably blessed to have the experience that we've had and to be able to see this thing happen. This gives people hope because they know if this can be done, anything can be done.
Yeah, I think both of us are very much a success story. People ask, well, because I'm a pretty damn busy guy, and I know people are like, when the hell do you sleep? You got 4 businesses now, and you have I still got a full-time job.
Sleep?
Yeah, I sleep standing out for 30 minutes.
What are you talking about?
But here's what I don't want. I don't want to be 80 years old. That's the last thing I'll say. I don't want to be 80, 85 years old and lay on my deathbed and think, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Yep. I watched my grandfather, the guy that I looked up to the most, perfect credit his entire life, died broke. Because he never took a risk. That's one thing I learned from him, not to be. He's never took a risk. One risk in his life he never did. He didn't take it. He just I don't know what he did. But what did it get him? He died, I won't say broke, but he died he dead broke.
Yeah, not wealthy.
No, not wealthy. No, I mean, like, didn't have enough money to put him in the ground.
Yeah.
And very good with money, very, very strict, but, like, he just never took a risk. I don't want to live like I never wanted to live like that. I want to take a risk. Okay, I fail. Okay, I fail. So what? I move on.
Yeah, well, and that's what fighting teaches us.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
You're gonna lose.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do when you lose?
Yep.
There's the quitting happens when you quit.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
If you lose and you learn and that goes on to be victory later, then we're just talking about a matter of time.
Yeah.
And some people just aren't willing to wait for that time, or they spend their whole life doing it.
You know what we should talk about in the next podcast? Our favorite MMA stories. There's some great fights out there.
Well, the thing is, if we did that, I'd have to write them down because there's
of course,
some shit.
Come prepared.
There's some crazy shit, like the time Lonnie went to fight for a title and the champion ran out of the venue because he was scared of Lonnie.
How about this one? How about I was fighting Blake for the title, and the lights turned off? Or how about when it rained?
Yeah.
And everybody was dropping out left and right. You were there? Yeah, you cornered me for that.
Yeah.
Everybody was cornering out, and they're like, I trained my ass off for that fight. And they go, Brent, do you want to fight? I go, dude, I'll fight him in the fucking grass.
Don't you remember what I said? They were talking about, everybody was pulling out of the fight.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, I don't want to fight on this rainy surface. And I'm like, I think it was Nick Merritt. I'm like, well, I'll tell you what, these motherfuckers put in 8 weeks. And they'll fight on fucking oil.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what it is.
Oh,
like if we lose because somebody slips, we're ready for anything. So we'll go right now.
So I think he was gonna pull out, and then he's like, "Let's do it," because he got pissed because what I said.
Yeah.
And then we go to touch gloves. Boom, lights go out. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Lights go out. And I'm like, what the hell?
How about the time Ken McClellan fought a dude that was like 300, and he bodied.
From Florida, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He picked him. He like body.
Yeah.
Locked him belly to belly and put him down.
That should probably be our next. That should be the next.
Caved in the floor, and they had to shut everything down. And Lennox like, I don't know if I can fight. They had to it was crazy, man.
There's a lot of good ones. That'd be fun. That'd be a fun podcast. So we get maybe Bo or somebody like that and talk about it. But
well, it's been fun.
Absolutely,
I appreciate you coming on, and I don't think we'll even need too much editing. I'll just throw this thing up there for the most part. We didn't say anything too scandalous. I don't think. No, we could have went all in, but we had
a couple guest appearances by Ronan.
We had some flybys by RTK, too cool for his own self. Ronan Var
gives two shits that pops is in the podcast.
Yeah, doesn't care, and it's all good. That's part of the culture, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's been man, it's been a real treat. Having you as a friend and a business partner, and seeing our kids grow. That's been kind of the really cool thing is seeing Blaine and Mia and Peyton when they're all like this in that old building at Chatham playing like Nintendo 64 in the back room, and now they're fucking grown-ass adults.
Relationships. Basically. They got boyfriends now. They got Blaine running around chasing posses, just like it's my damn dad.
Posse.
Playing football. It's just like...
The fact that the word posse hasn't come up more is probably going to disappoint some of the listeners.
Do you want me to, go on a 5-minute posse...
Save that for our cap next time. You're tired. I don't want you making any suspect decisions. It happens from time to time. All right, brother.
A lot of fun, brother.
Appreciate it. Man. Yep. And I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll probably have some fire to put out.
Absolutely.
So,
cool.
All right, brother. Later. 3 hours.